Welcome along to the northeast of Italy and welcome along to Monza. We've been racing here since 1922. It's SwiftX Racing Series presented by the Digital Motorsports team, taking place here at the Royal Park of Monza. 110 days it took to build this permanent circuit. One of the first permanent circuits in the world. It's downforce, it's speed, it's the temple of speed. It's time to put some pineapple on your pizza in Monza, fresh out of the oven, starting soon for qualifying. Well, the Italian fans have called it Tifosi, and in Austin this weekend for the Cota race, I nicknamed them the Morosa as they jam-pack their way into Austria. But we are obviously here in the virtual world of lovely Monza on the classic circuit we all know. 2 mighty DRS zones give you more speed than temple of speed. 11 corners, 4 to the left, 7 to the right. I'm Dean Biggles, and back again is Mr. Benjamin. Hello, hello.
Well, it's great to be here. Great to be back here, as always. Say another week, another great racing. I mean, it's Monza. Does it really need any further introduction? You know it, or you hate. You love it, or you hate it. Either way, one thing that we can expect, say, low wings, high speeds, and nothing short of the most intense drama as we get stuck in with the racing here.
Just 11 of those turns. Not that many, of course. Do that as quickly as possible around the track and you will set yourself the fastest qualifying lap. And not a bad place to be, is it, Benjamin, going into turn 1, being on pole position? Yeah,
certainly a place that you want to be, but also a little bit careful of, I would definitely say, purely on the basis that, well, you've got a lot of chaos going on behind you. So you've got to place your car pretty effectively. You've got to get that great start, of course, because it's all too easy for some drivers to get the swoop in on you.
And sweeping in, and say hello out there in the chat. I'll be reading your messages. And give us a thumbs up if you do like Monza. Give us a thumbs up if you like the SwiftX Motor Series, because I do. And I'm really looking forward to this full qualifying session. So we will drop about 2 or 3, perhaps, gladiators, or maybe if they get through the final part of qualifying, mate, we'll have to call them Centaurians.
So one thing we'll have to wait and see. Either way, we've got a few drivers starting to come out now. So local yellows popping in and out as we have drivers, say, gearing up, ready for their laps. They on board. Alex Hoss are now going to see how they do in that McLaren, sporting the beautiful orange and pink special livery. Of course, came into effect, I believe it was with Singapore. And I gotta say, I know that it's a classic combo, the orange and the blue, but I kind of like this one better. I might be a little divisive, but I kind of like this special edition better.
I love it. I do as well. I totally agree with you, Ben. In the chat, what do you guys think out there? The McLaren engineer's back, of course, with Mike. Mike, do you like it? You're the engineer. Whoa, oversteer moment there from Alex. It always tricks you a little bit, doesn't it? Turn 4 and 5. But yeah. Yes, so give us a shout out there if you guys and girls and everybody likes the livery of the McLaren more than the older livery. Hope they keep it. It's a smart car too, out of turns the second Lesmo.
Yeah, careful is the name of the game. I think drivers are getting a little bit too eager with it, I have to say. Can't really be affording anything like that. Say a little bit of eagerness. Especially when you are on the edge of grip at so many points of this track. So you've got to remember, of course, tempo of speed, but you still need that little bit of downforce. And this is kind of where we get into variance of setup territory. Of course, drivers want that fast quali, but when it comes to raceability, it's a whole different story.
Absolutely. Mike out there says he likes the normal one better. All right. Each to their own, Mike. You are the engineer for McLaren. You get to see it every day, up close and personal. We don't get that. We don't get to walk through the paddock, the pit lane very often. So I tell you what, I want you to let us know, Mike, at what do you think the top speed will be in? I only work in kilometers per hour, sorry, but around here, what do you think that the top speed will be overall so far for the qualifying this weekend? As Lenny goes into the 20s, almost 20 flats. No doubt we're going to get people into the 19s.
There's a really good driving from some of them. So we're going to be Shelton coming in with a 126.1. I think how that was an unfortunate, abandon in their case. One who we will hop on with is the second Alfa Romeo. So Joshua Bashford, going to see if he can pip his teammate potentially. Of course, they are all in that 120 territory. That's kind of what we're looking for in the early stages of qualifying, at least. We do expect that as we get into Q2, Q3, that will be dropping into the 19s or maybe even lower. Would not be remiss to say that. But again, it's about dialing in the car, getting to know the track, I think, is half the battle. So we've got Tosler coming in with a 120.3.
There's Luke.
And
Bang.
there's Franklin. 119, just as we were saying about it. It's going to be 119.8. It's going to put him on provisional lead of Q1 here.
Welcome to the 19 clubs of Italy. And Mike out there said 350 would be 0 wings. I'm not sure about that, my friend. You might need a little bit of a front wing. But actually, believe it at the moment, maximum Kloss 349 is the fastest top speed. In fact, there are 6 drivers in the 349 kilometers per hour club. That is Mr. Kloss there. E2, Luke Franklin, you just saw there on provisional pole there. Joshua Bashford. And the Ferrari driver, I think, Lenny Cook. Yes, there you go. They're on the 349 club. That's the fastest speed so far.
Yeah, got a few of them who are either prepping for laps or are out setting them right now. So on board with AJ Jackson is a talent to watch, I think, and I think you can speak personally on this one a bit more, seeing as you know them probably far better than I do here, Dean. But what can we say about Jackson?
He just needs a luck of the draw when it comes to computers and cars and stuff like that. That's the issue. Yes, the last week when we had that race, his computer decided to die on him, so he couldn't get it fired up and could not be able to race. And other times his computers crashed on him during races. So if he has a good luck where, touch wood, nothing happens, definitely this man's capable of getting a race win or definitely on the podium.
Yeah, I think it comes to a wider conversation that on his day, Jackson is an absolute force to be reckoned with. We've seen that pace and we've seen him recover from some really difficult circumstances in a lot of cases along his race career here in SwiftX. But the real problem is that whether it's circumstances outside of his control or not, that consistency tends to falter. It's not the pace, it's not the on-track ability, it's that consistency I find that falters if there's anything that can be said about Jackson's performance.
Consistency is absolutely key. And speaking of the championships, of course, well, we know the Jasper Ten Hacken is in the lead of the championship, has been consistently getting the results that you need, and that's what the other drivers need to be in that club. And how is the championship standings at the moment, too, while we're in the early part of qualifying?
Well, there's a few angles that you can approach this from, as a Ten Hacken is in a very strong position in that Mercedes. Of course, the main title rival, Emir, has, of course, left the championship, and that leaves a pretty big power vacuum. Although saying that, speaking of vacuums, that is going to be Jackson coming in, not quite in that 119 bracket, but it's still good enough for a very, very good time on the board. That's going to be P3 for the Williams. Nicely done from them. So another one on track right now. Well, Casson will have to keep an eye on. Another driver who really can string it together to great effect on their day. But going back to the main point is there is a few fights going on. So you've got a few mid-pack fights. The big one to watch out for is, I'd say, Jasper Ten Hacken, because of course he is the at current Drivers' Championship leader and was the main rival to Mir. But following on from that, you have the constructors, where I do worry. I cannot help but worry a bit for Ferrari, because their main title driver, their star driver, has left the suit, and that leaves not only the Drivers' Championship in a state of flux, but and it's around.
Ooh,
it's going backwards for the Aston Martin. It's going to have no choice but to wait there for a opportune time to turn around. Can't get involved with the traffic that is out on track.
Yeah, that's kind of a little disappointing too, Benjamin, because it looked like he was on for probably one of the quickest laps at the moment in the qualifying session, as well as the Ferraris you were speaking about just before there. Antonio Cortez now. That's the sole, is Lenny Cook as well. He was actually setting up a very fast sector before and invalidated out of, I think it was Curva Parabolica. So invalidation's also an issue. But yeah, going back to that Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, there is really a lot of, we'll say, a lot of flux right now. The Constructors' Championship is the one to watch because Ferrari are in such a precarious position. I'm not going to deny that they don't have talent in the wings. As I say, you've got Cook and Andreas Corte, or I'd say, and Antonio Cortes even. My mistake there. But you can't deny that they have talent in that paddock. It's just a case of, can it match the same caliber of talent as we've seen from the suit previously? That is the question on my mind.
Yeah, Emar, of course, is in early retirement. Definitely probably would have been okay to wrap up the championship and subscribe his name on, but he's decided to, once again, retire from Formula 1 for a bit. So we wish him well. Antonio has not set a lap. He decided to go into the pit lane. As well as, remember, Jasper Ten Haken waiting for perhaps the last minute to get just a lap in, enough to get you to the next part of qualifying, as well as Korsgaard has not set a lap yet. They're the three ones that need to set a lap within 7 minutes, or take a break for Q2 and Q1 if you don't.
Well, they do have a little bit of a breathing room. That is at least one thing that drivers do have on their side. Say Hostler getting a little bit twitchy coming out of Scari, heading into Parabolica. Really, one thing drivers has got to be careful, and it's the same in our real life counterpart, is you cannot extend Parabolica. Your lap and the following lap will be invalidated. There's a pretty good reason behind it, but Parabolica is that one place you got to be careful of, and a lot of drivers are in fact running quite narrow in terms of carrying the speed through that final corner. But say Hostler going to be coming in with a P7, and very nicely done from the McLaren there. Yep,
exactly. So the McLaren boss out there, Mr. Mike, should be okay with Jacob and Alex looking comfortable at the moment. About two, just shy of 3/10 off the fastest lap. Should be enough to get through to Q2. And just to let you know there, Benjamin, a little bit of trivia for everybody out there too. Curva Parabolica also has another name. What is it?
The $1 million question. Ooh.
It was recently named 2 years ago, I think.
If you say it's a recent, because my mind was thinking, I'd say, Ascari 2, given we had, we'll say, the Lesmos, but drawing a blank.
You can't replace Ascari. Ascari's only 7, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10, sorry. Nobody in the chat's giving it to her. It's Alboreto in honor of Mikhail Alboreto, I believe it is, the Formula 1 Italian Formula 1 driver that used to race for Ferrari and stuff like that back in the 80s.
Oh, so a fitting tribute. So being immortalized at the Temple of Speed. Speaking of that speed, we have Silver Arrows coming across the line to start their lap. It's a Jasper Ten Haken yet to push a lap and put something on the field. It's 5 minutes on the clock, so they're kind of running it a little bit thin here, but regardless, running themselves quite well here. It's looking good for Silver Arrows as someone gets a little bit too friendly on the curbs at turn 1. I think that was Jackson there, or either that or could have been Korsgaard.
I think he was just getting out of the way because he knew that Jasper Ten Haken was starting a flying lap and didn't want to affect the Silver Bullet, of course, flying at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. As Silver Bullet right now goes through the first and second Lesmos. That's fun, isn't it, to get those Lesmos correctly? The second one, of course, is a little bit slower than the first. You go out into that grass, the sand out there on the inside, at the outside, as many people do, and you're in trouble. Up in 8th gear right now. He'll hit about 340, I believe, 342 kilometers per hour before one of the best sections of Formula 1 motor racing. Ascari nails it perfectly through there, doesn't invalidate. One more corner, of course, to go. Alboreto or Parabolica, whatever you want to call it, but just get through it and get a time on the board. Let's see what Jasper Ten Haken can do.
So looking good from them. You saw with the onboard just how close they were running to the edges, how much they were pushing track limits and really trying to eke every single minutia of time out of that car. But then, it's clearly worked because it's enough for a P3. Very well done there.
First lap, 87 thousandths of a second is enough for him to no problems to not burn any more of those soft tires that they're all using for the qualifying session. That'd be an interesting strategy out there too. Mike, now what are you and anybody else that's engineering out there in the chat, what are you guys thinking of doing for your tire strategy seeming for the race? Will you start at mediums or elect to start on hards or really gamble and go softs?
Well, either way, it looks like we're seeing some drivers start to pull out the session, happy with their times. And really, it's going to be nigh impossible to put E2 and, say, Franklin's and Lapalainen all the way down into the relegation zone. So I think they are just fine. Either way, on board with Cortez now. Going to be one of the last drivers on the field yet to set a time. They're kind of getting a little bit too close for comfort, considering that we only have just over 3 minutes on the clock here.
Yeah, he's needing everything right now because he's going to burn his battery. That's another key thing, isn't it? You can't really do 2 laps back to back without burning your battery. Needs to get a time. Braking heavy in turn 1 and turn 2. Gets it done, doesn't jump over the cars like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton did a couple of years ago. Remember, he's in a Ferrari, so he can hear the grandstands cheering. The Tifosi going absolutely ballistically mad, of course, for the Ferrari driver, and they want to see this Ferrari driver see Q2.
So that Ferrari looks so planted, sort of running through the field. I mean, it's running so close to the ground. The ground effect is clearly in full swing here, and the car just looks so stable. I'm not sure what it's done with the setup, but it doesn't look like there's even any semblance of over-rotation, of even a little bit of tire scrub. I'm not seeing it. So whatever the engineers have done, whatever the feedback Cortez gave to the team, it's clearly working.
He's 2/10 off at the moment, as Will goes a little bit quicker. He's 2/10 off. That's not too bad. It might get you in. You can see the 2/10 will get you into the top 10, perhaps, if you can nail this all-important final corner here as flat as possibly can. He got up to 8th gear, drop it down to 5th, actually 4th, and then upshift to 5th. 6th now on the power. Hug that wall so you get across the line as short as possible. Will it be enough for the Ferrari driver to get through? No.
It's still going to be down at the bottom. It's say P16 still 120.4. Goes to show how tight the margins are here, as we have 2 improvements. Got Tembrinka and Ranyelti also being the next driver to jump into the 119s. But there you go, people retiring. We have got 1 minute left on the clock now. Everyone else going to be hopping into the pits. Who else is on the field? We have got Cook. What are they going to be able to do?
On the fly now, because he hasn't set a time. Remember, for the Williams driver, now he's in the turn 1. This is his last chance. No more time after this. Hasn't got a time on the board. Get a time on the board, just as Antonio did. Even a time is a time. Doesn't matter if you're not going to see the next part of qualifying. You got to be trying, as Korsgaard is. And whether all he needs is within half a second to be safe. Within half a second of Will's time.
It's either way, so yeah, Korsgaard, do or die time now. Flag is about to fall. He knows this is the last chance. So looking okay for the time being. Has a green sector 1. Can he match that pace? All he needs to do is advance to position. It's a 20.4 to beat in order for him to get into Q2. It's looking good.
He's about 81 thousandths of a second, so it's not too bad. Not too bad at all.
It's looking on good pace. At this exact point, Cortez was half a second down on top result, and Korsgaard is just a quarter. It's looking strong for the Williams. It's looking like a good day for Williams Racing as Korsgaard comes around Parabolica here, absolutely getting it right to the edge, carrying as much speed as they can. What's it going to be? It's going to be enough for a P8, and they are well within the safety zone. Great stuff from them.
Slots in right ahead of AJ, his teammate. So yes, Williams Racing, of course, will see the next part of qualifying. That's great. Unfortunately, for 2 drivers, it won't be so great. Joshua Bashford and Antonio Cortez will not be in the next part of qualifying. But of course, they'll be in the race. They'll have a little bit of time. They'll go down there, probably snack on a pizza, mate, with pineapple on it or not. Well, probably not here in Italy, but
yeah, well,
either way. That's, well, if you want to find out about that, if you want to search, of course, on your browser without getting in trouble with the Italian government for searching for pineapple on pizza, use the NordVPN that we're sponsored by.
Well, yes, I was going to say, your starting intro, so pineapple on pizza, fighting talk, and considering where we are. Either way, that's going to be Will Casson leading here in Q1. Brilliant time, brilliant benchmark being set, a 119.854. E2 just being pipped by 16 milliseconds, and then you can see going down the field how narrowly the field is split. Just 2/10 separating P1 and P10, and that margin is going to matter so greatly when it comes to Q2 and Q3. But we have, of course, our P1s. We have our P15s. and we have everyone in between. But as we head into Q2 and Q3, who do you think is going to pull out an absolute gem of a lap in this next session? If you had to pin one person.
You always get me to pin somebody, don't you?
Always. You've got to set the stakes.
Favouring a driver? All right.
Oh, we're just establishing tension, that's all.
AJ's been sandbagging. I'll text him and say, okay, AJ, stop sandbagging. Take the weights out of the car and give us a fast lap.
Okay, now you are favouring a driver. I was just asking you to put in a prediction.
Mike out there, anyway, had answered that question before. So he said if you get a good qualifying, he suggests to his team, of course, the McLaren team, hard to medium strategy for the race. Well, that's if you guys are going to get through. And Mike, do you think you're going to get both Alex Hosser and Jacob through to Q1? It's going to be a very, very narrow gap between the drivers. I bet we might be looking at about 1/10 or 2/10, I'd say, between the whole top 10 if you want to get to Q3.
Yeah, definitely want to keep tight eyes on. Either we're on board with P2 from the first qualifying session. It's going to be Lapalainen. One to watch, definitely along with, I'm not sure what it is, I say. It's between Lapalainen and Noah, the Corpi. But the Mr. Saturdays of the league, and all saying that, getting a little bit too aggressive with the warm-up strategy in the Haas there.
Yeah, that's the second.
Nice
we've seen a lot of drivers now spinning out of the second Lesmo. That's the one that's been catching people off this evening, so I'll have to keep an eye out that for the race.
I think it's
obviously
the camber.
The new handling model, isn't it?
Yeah,
with the 2022 car.
I think it is, and the other thing is the sort of camber of the circuit, so it's a little bit of a off angle than what you're really expecting. It's, of course, Monza. You're expecting things to be almost perfectly flat, apart from the one dip into the Ascari. But with the second Lesmo, it's slightly banked, so it gives your outside tires a little bit more grip because of, we'll say, inertia and momentum. And that sometimes catches drivers off guard. Remember, when they're training, sometimes they are expecting a perfectly flat and linear track. Whereas reality is quite different, especially as you get into a lot more granular sims.
And reality, of course, you would be closing your eyes if you're driving around that corner at high speeds, of course, putting all that pressure on your neck as well at both of the Lesmos. And at there, Bashi said, parabolic is the bane of me. He lost 2.5 tenths there with a... Turn that frown upside down, my friend, when it comes to race time. That's Bashi out there. Bashi, you need to remind us, please, again, who you were driving under on the grid. And Mike said he's confident that both of his drivers will make it in, but he said that Jacob barely got much practice if Alex doesn't bin it. So that's it. That's the McLaren drivers. Confident. All right. As long as I don't bin it. That's a good thing to tell your drivers.
Yep. So, well, that is, well, like you said earlier, consistency is key. And luckily, with the way quali works, if you can just put one good lap together, then you are safe. The problem is when you can actually get that lap down, whether you can get it in early, or you can get it in late. Got Yelty setting the early benchmark. Not the best time, but it's a 121.5. Kloss immediately responds with a 907. Cook coming in with a 19.611. Casson with a 20.087. And E2 slotting in with a 21.295. We saw them getting a little bit squirrely coming on the throttle. But that is certainly an opening stack that I'd be quite nervous of if I was the other drivers on the field right now.
Absolutely. You need to be in the 19 clubs if you're going to see the next part of qualifying for sure. And Lenny's the only one in the 19 clubs to get those laps in as quickly as possible. You see, well, on the track map, they are all out, essentially. I believe only one driver sitting in the pit lane right now is Jasper Ten Hacken. And there's Bashi, of course. Joshua Bashford. Well, I should have guessed that, shouldn't I? Bashford. Now I have a nickname to call you during the race, my friend. Thank you very much. But you get to cool off, mate. Once again, go have some pineapple on your pizza while you watch this qualifying. Enjoy the qualifying session with us and make it all up come race day. Times are coming in, but not as impressive. John Thomas, hard work, and Maximum Kloss, of course, getting our 2/10 club there behind the Lennys, but not in the 9. They are in the 19 club, of course. My apologies, the top 3, but you need to be in the 19s, guys. If not, just put an 18 in. 18.9 or something.
Ooh, it's looking really rough for AJ. So it was on such a good lap on par with the leaders, only to, again, it's that second Lesmo. In fact, I might see stewards briefly come out for clearing the track debris. The front wing of that Williams went absolutely everywhere.
AJ's just playing for his food right now. Don't worry. I should stop talking about playing with the food. He's okay. He's got time. It's 9 minutes to change, just under 10. A broad genie. Yeah, I won't go onto the pizza. We're gonna get everybody hungry. Let's not worry about that. We just focus on this qualifying. Yes, for 10 Hackers on an outlap. Luke 10 Brinkley is on a flying lap. And both the Mercs aren't out. McLarens, I'll get it right. Starts with an M. So Mike's going to get both of his McLarens out soon, mate. I'm sure you're giving a bit of a debrief.
There we go. So we've got Shelton out on track now, going for his flyer. We've got stuck behind AJ Jackson as he limped his car to the pits. But now that McLaren has some room to breathe. A little bit of a lock up there on the rears, coming through the first turn, but otherwise keeping a good pace. It's looking smooth, progressive, and one thing I do worry about, though, will it survive the second Lesmo? You've seen so many drivers falter. In fact, say that makes AJ Jackson makes 3. So is Shelton going to suffer the same fate? You know what Ben and I are going to do? Ben, you and I, you know what? Let's get out of this casting booth. Let's go down there and let's report the action from the second Lesmo. Of course, that's turn 7. Let's just go down there and we'll sit right near the fence and we'll listen to the cars scream past us or into the fence as we jump away. Talk about a spectator experience. Although that being said, so speaking of experience, Shelton's not looking to be having a good one. He's a second behind the leader right now. It's going to be okay for a mid-tier position, but of course, as Q2 gets into its final minutes, that time is not going to stand. And you see there Shelton with the abandon coming through at a pretty leisurely pace. It's going to go for a recovery lap.
Sorry, Jacob across the line right now set his time in there. Bang up into P10. That's 6/10. That's not a very good time, of course. But the man should be on top right now. Will be. There he is. Right on cue. Jasper Ten Hacken. 68 thousandths of a second at 7:19.5. That's the quickest time I think we've seen all weekend so far.
Say 0.543. Brilliant work from him. Let's have a look.
Mike said that Jacob hit the 343 kilometers per hour. Just verifying that with my... You're right. I got 347. I'm seeing in my telemetry, but not enough. Not enough of that pace. Alex is out on track. We'll see what the other McLaren driver is going to do. Is he's going to... Obviously has invalidated this lap. He has to go around again.
Yeah, I think it's just taking a little bit too hot into the braking area there. So braking zone, just taking it way too hot and had no choice but to abandon. But everyone is now out on track. The two McLarens are grouped up together. Are we going to see them two giving each other a little bit of a tow? That's one thing we'll have to wait and find out for. Going to see a lot of the mid runners now start to come back out of the pits for a second go. We've got Lapalainen out back on track. We have got soon to follow, will I imagine be the Aston Martins, the Alpines, looking to defend their spots heading into the later segment of Q2, especially if they want to guarantee a Q3 position.
And both the McLarens have gone in the pit lane. Interesting. AJ is on a flying lap now and needs to get a good lap in. I was surprised that Lenny Cook went out there for another lap because I'd have to say his time's pretty safe there. 68 thousandths of a second off Jasper's Ten Hackens time. Lenny's electing to keep the Tifosi happy, of course, in the Ferrari. Let's have a look at AJ. He's about to start a flying lap right now, and he needs to get a good time in here. 6 minutes and change means that if you mess it up, you got time to get back in the pit lane and try it again, but probably only one more.
You cannot afford, though, to overcook it. At this point, if I was in Jackson's shoes, I would say I know I have pace, but I just need to get a time on the board. I have 5 minutes left. That's enough for me to go back in, get a warm-up lap, and then go for a full push. But I just need something. Well, saying that, Jackson's completely sort of flown in the face of that advice. He's 2 tenths up.
Yeah, see? I told you. You asked me who to predict possibly to be a bit of a surprise. Well, the Canadian definitely could be cooking up a storm here.
He survived it.
He survives, that's it. So there you go. That's all you need to be happy, of course. Once you survive that, you got the Ascari coming up. And everybody, surprisingly, touch wood, I'm not going to curse you at the moment, AJ, everybody's been delivering through Ascari quite well. No, and he's just invalidated. I have definitely cursed poor AJ. He's going to have to back off. I don't think he's going to battery. Well, he might have enough battery to charge it up. That's 65% now.
And I think he was on such a good run too. That's the rough part. Such a good run there, only for it to go to invalidation, especially the start. Lapline is going to see if we can follow in his footsteps in that Haas. It's a purple first sector. So far, it's looking good for them. Of course, put in a brilliant performance in Q1. Can they mirror it in Q2 and bring themselves into the final showdown? Gets it very nicely done through Esmos, really swinging that car, using the momentum, and using as much of the track as they possibly can. It's a great level of pace, a little bit slow on the second sector there, losing a little bit of time, but carrying the speed through to the final sector here. So line it up.
Yeah, so a little bit more drag resistance on that helmet, but it doesn't matter because it's the fastest car with 350 kilometers an hour. And if he hooks his lap up, which he should be able to, that should be definitely in the 19 club. The mid-19s is where you want to be. I'd have to say E2 is definitely right there. Bang.
And that's a 755.
755, exactly.
And a great run.
Fish helmet. He's fishing his way, isn't he? Higher and higher up into the timing table. There you go. Puns are coming. That's the first one for you today.
Expect a hook, line, and sinker joke in there somewhere. We'll sneak one in.
Oh, there it is.
But you never know. You have to keep on your toes when it comes to us in the booth. Either way, going to be on board with Shelton. Looks like they're finishing a lap or starting one. We'll have to check. No, it looks like they're starting one. Let's see what they are up to, because the McLarens need to put in a bit of a quick performance here because they have got both of their cars in the relegation zone. A little bit of a lock-up on the rears, almost emblematic of drivers pushing a little bit too hard down the straights, trying to carry the speed as much and as long as they can. But you've got to be careful, because if you use a bit of a lock-up, it's going to be a little bit of scrubbing on the tyres, and it's not going to be great for your grip.
That's Alex, actually. The other McLaren's gone too deep, and that's definitely cooked his lap. And at the moment, Mike was not. I'm probably not going to be too confident about both your drivers going through at the moment. But I tell you what, if you want them to go through, perhaps hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. Maybe I think the like might give him that little bit of extra boost, isn't it? The motivation. Liam's in the pits at the moment. I don't know what he's doing, but somebody send him a message and say, "You kind of got to get out there to qualify, mate.
Got to get out there and got to get out there fast."
It just comes out right now on the outlap, so there it is.
Time is running thin, but there you go. Teammate yields is still about half a second behind, unfortunately, though it's not looking great. I think that's abandoned from Shelton. Yes, it is. Going to be yielding and opting to go for a final lap after the timer has fell. Cook out of the session, feeling comfortable with their P2. Aston Martins is going to be another one to watch. Will Casson, of course, putting in a brilliant performance, leading Q1 and leading the charge on that front. And they will be a driver to watch to see if they go for a final send coming out of here. Maximilian Kloss, another one in, say, the Alpine, as Luke Tembrica comes with a 119.624, puts themselves on the podium. That's going to be a little bit more of a threat to the Aston Martins, but also the Red Bulls, P10 and P11. Yelty in the drop zone.
Strong Mercedes engine, of course. Mercedes powerhouse, getting it done. AJ's got to do something, of course. It's unfortunate. I'm not even going to talk about AJ anymore. I don't want to curse him. Alex is on a flyer. Alex also, of course, that's a McLaren driver. He needs to get a time in, as well as Liam eventually, of course, got out on track on it. He's going to only have that one lap for the Alfa Romeo to get something done. Alex survives the second Lesmo. Yes, he does. Alex Hosser, want to get to impress your boss out there, Mike, of course, your engineer. Mike doesn't want to be sitting around Q3 all by himself. He wants at least a driver to get through.
He wants at least one of his cars. If we can get one car out and into Q3, then he's going to be happy. I'm sure it'll be a happy day at the office.
A tow through Parabolica might be enough. 26.9 middle sector. What do you think at the moment? What's your betting?
It's going to be very tight. I'm looking at 20. And there we go. It's going to be a 20.4. It's going to be enough for P11 as his teammate just pips him with a I think it's 26 milliseconds of difference. It's still not going to be enough. That's going to be both McLarens out in Q2. Yeah, it's up to Liam right now. If Liam can punch his way in there. Remember, he's in the Alfa Romeo, of course, so he's powered by a Ferrari in front of the Ferrari Tifosi fans, so he's going to get a little bit of cheer from them. Will they be enough cheer? Will it be enough thumbs up liking, perhaps, out there in the chat to get him up
and to see the next part of qualifying. This is it.
It's going to be
Let's
tight.
make a
It's going to be
break right
close.
now.
Jackson doesn't quite get what he needs to get out. He's going to be P14. He's going to be stuck down there. Liam's going to get P10. Just pip the barrier with a 1:19.893. So, yeah, the minimum truly was a 1:19. And really, say the McLarens certainly not going to be happy. The Red Bull's certainly not going to be happy. And I know Jackson is going to be a little bit frustrated himself, considering he had such a good run up until that point where I think it was just sort of the crash on Lesmo 2 that really sort of undid it, because at that point, I'm pretty sure he was thinking too much about the crash and not enough about setting a time. It's a little bit of mental games.
It's haunted him. It's haunted him because he was fast. He was fast through the first sector. He had the fastest time, I think, during the first sector of that lap he was on, and then in the second, I think that may have caused a little bit of a thing, and then, of course, through Ascari, he invalidated. And that just means poor AJ. Well, I'm saying the telemetry at the moment says AJ set the fastest time.
Oh, my God, AJ. I thought he was out for the count. It looked like he slowed down on the start-finish straight. And yet here he is with a 3.69.
All right.
I can't believe this.
Yes, you can come to me for your predictions. Your fortune teller Biggles is here. I predicted him to be the fastest man in this qualifying session, and it's all come true. So, unfortunately, Mike, you should ask me. I could have, maybe I'll predict your drivers to do something in the race time, but unfortunately, both the McLarens aren't in. There you go. Thank you, AJ.
I
knew you would do it. I
knew
a little bit
of a
red
herring. Throwing me a little bit of a red herring here in the commentary box, thinking he's slowing down. He's gone for abandon, but no, it's going to be a 3.69. So question is, Yelty did make an improvement, but it was only enough for P12 at the time. Markham goes into the pits. The only one on that is left is going to be Casson. Now, where is Casson? Are they in the pits?
Yeah. Casson? Yes, Will Casson is in the pit lane. Well, there it is. So the shout-outs, of course, in the chat there. AJ Jackson is the best controller player in the league, I'd have to say. Maybe one of the best controller players on the planet. Not just in this league, but definitely quick.
And that's brilliantly done then from the Williams. Yeah, it's a good day at Williams, and certainly a surprise thrown at the very last second, because that's going to be AJ Jackson. And then at the exact opposite end of the scale, just pipping the line, is going to be Korsgaard in the second Williams car. Half a second between P1 and P10. So a bit of a bigger spread here in Q2. But regardless, these drivers are continuing to push the bar. Remember, with that 2/10 split, everyone was in about this day, the 19.8s and around the 20s. Now we are closing in on the 1:18 barrier, just to give you a bit of a perspective on where we are with things. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. Q3 is not going to disappoint.
Absolutely, you are right. I'd have to say it's not now improbable that somebody doesn't hit the 18 club. What do you guys out there in the chat think? Let us know. Thumbs up if you like it, if you like the qualifying. Mike, yes, you have a bit of a break now with your drivers. At least you're going to be able to go through all the paperwork, all the tapes, of course, study the telemetry, find out what they can do during the race, but at the moment, and then have a bit of a break before the race. But at the moment, the top 10 shootout's it. And yes, there was a bit of a spread, isn't it? Half a second. But I don't think you're going to get that now.
Yeah, no.
Who wants to be the 18s? Who wants to do it? AJ going to come out there and just fire at the last minute across the line and do it again? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, so yeah, last minute sends will probably be one, but I don't think we'll see as nearly as big of a spread as we had in the previous qualifying session, because this is do or die. The drivers know that more than anything. So Q1, Q2, you can almost afford a little bit of, I will say, a little bit of dossing around to a degree. Because you know that as long as you get in that top 15 or that top 10, then you don't actually have to worry about how well you drive. This is where you have to worry about how well you drive. This is crunch time.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to be second row, third row, or fourth row, etc., etc. You don't want to be in the middle going to turn one here in Italy, because we see lots and lots of collisions, front wings and carbon fiber. You want to be starting on the front row. That is where you want to start. Pretty much in all races, of course, you want to start on the front row. Max will get pole out there, apparently How To said. That's Maximum Kloss, or Max Verstappen. I think Max Verstappen's had a few poles this year. I think he's even won a championship somewhere on there. But at the moment, well, the man that could be winning the championship would be Jasper Ten Hacken. They're on out laps. Guess what? 2 laps is about you're going to get. Just 2 laps. We've had breaking news too that Hardwick would get a 10-pace grid penalty. Ooh, that's going to hurt a little bit. Anyway,
that's definitely
flying laps now. 1 of 2. You generally get 2 in, right, Ben? And that's it. So let's see.
Yeah, usually, say accounting for out laps and cool down laps, you'd be looking at 2, maybe 3 at a stretch if you really sort of eke out the maximum life. Not to mention, a lot of drivers might have been using their available tyre sets to the point where 2 is really all you can muster without going into older sets and potentially snookering yourself a little bit.
Snookering, I love it. That's it. So going out there, of course, Lenny Cook in the Ferraris out there trying to keep the Ferrari Tifosi happy. Not the Mazzocchi. I can't read it right because what are the American Formula One fans called? Mazzokas. Mazzocchis? Something like that. Anyway, I said it before. Anyway, AJ perhaps for a pole. Jasper. We will see. I think Lenny Cook would love to keep the Tifosi happy, of course, if he puts that Ferrari on pole. Nobody's mentioned Lenny Cook. Remember, he was very, very quick in these previous qualifying sessions. Don't count him out. He will be the first one to set a quick time. Let's see what gauntlet he's going to lay down for the rest of the grid.
I think one to watch in terms of laying down the gauntlet will definitely be the Aston Martin, specifically on board with right now. It's going to be Luke Frankland, one driver that has done nothing short of impressing. Say, Lenny Cook coming in with the initial time, 119.975, but that's not going to be something that Aston Martin takes lightly. Ten Hacken is going to respond, 0.683, going to be enough for the pole, but coming on board with Frankland, it's going to be a 0.377. As we said about keep throwing down the gauntlet, the Astons are certainly not giving any mercy. Jackson coming in with a 792. It's going to return the favour all of the same. Casson looks like he's going to be an invalidation, so not going to be pushing for this time, unfortunately. And looks like Lapalainen got a little bit squirrely coming through turn 1 because they took a little bit of a shortcut.
And he has the fastest speed, the 350 club. A few of those drivers been in the 350 club. I haven't seen anybody break the 350s. 351. Not enough track, I guess, to the main straight to reach that. We got a few drivers on some flying laps at the moment. Now there's Korsgaard. Well, Korsgaard's in the pit lane. My apologies. Just trying to see. Yeah, both Thomas and E2, as you'd mentioned, are on flyers. Will's on a flyer, of course. So he's already got his teammate up the top of the timesheets. He wants to join him, perhaps?
Definitely. He's got to be nothing short of a team effort here. So a little bit down on peak time, about 2/10, but still running nicely regardless. Getting very close to the edge on the exit of Ascari there. Heading into the setup for Parabolicas, carrying that speed, carrying that momentum, really taking it to the edge. So you can just drop in the outside tyres onto the green, and it's going to be enough for a P4, 0.712 from the second Aston Martin. That's going to be enough for second row on the grid for the time being.
He really hugged the apex a lot on the Parabolica. It's just not something you generally see because you carry a lot of speed through that corner. It's fantastic. There are multiple lines that drivers can take. There's really, at the end of the day, there's no perfect one. Let's see if Thomas Hardwick, of course, he needs to get that spotted. He doesn't spot the apex as close to see whether or not the Alpine driver can get himself a good time on the grid there. Goes up at a P3, so not too bad at all. Next to his teammate.
Going to be very good from them because Kloss and Hardwick take a P2 and P3. Certainly a strong position for the Alpines to be in. I definitely would be worried.
Well, yeah. Well, remember too, Thomas Hardwick's got a 10-place grid penalty, so he the best he could do obviously is get the fastest time around here and then start in P10. Otherwise, at the moment, he'd be starting in P13.
I think though, one thing that is on my mind is kind of what I mentioned before. It's the difference between a quali setup and a race setup. Now, some drivers will probably be around the P4, P5, P6 area that we'd expect to be on top. But if they've deliberately set up their cars to be more raceable, to have a bit more pace in the corners, then that is when we're going to see some spiciness in the order. So even in the case of Hardwick, he still needs to perform in Q3 because he needs to do a big damage control. Being P13 is being a lot better than just sort of giving up and starting all the way down at the bottom of the field. So a bit of damage control, and he knows he has the pace in him, clearly. So if he can get that opportunity, he's going to take it. Even if it means just netting yourself in the midfield rather than being up top like you earned. But that's the nature of penalties.
Let's have a look at the power. You're right. Had the powerhouse there of the Mercedes of Luke currently in P8, yet to set a time, is on a time. Not sure he's on DHL time or not, but either way, he should be wearing one of those watches on his gloves, the racing gloves, as you see sponsors.
Smooth.
But let's have a look.
Super smooth, very smooth.
Ferrari, it's just like this car's driving itself almost. At eighth gear, let's see how he approaches Parabolica. Smooth operator, perhaps. Let's have a look.
Say these cars are all about the smoothness, though. And it looks like it's paid off to great effect, because that's good enough for P3.
Yeah, that car looks hooked up, as you were saying. So perhaps he's dialed that one in perfectly. Will it work out for race trim or not? Of course, you'll be not on these really grippy red stripe tires generally. I think most of the drivers will be starting on mediums and hards. And they won't have this sort of pace or glued to the track. But the Ferrari drivers of Lenny Cook at the moment, mate, go to check out him, of course, because I just heard some screaming Italians in the audience. I was wondering what they're screaming about. They're screaming about Lenny Cook, the fastest first sector.
Looking strong. I say Ferrari need good performance here, as of course everyone's riding on the prancing horse's shoulders. It's Tifosi, it's home crowd. You got to bring the heat. You got to impress them. Of course, this is the one place where Ferrari needs to come out on top. If there ever was a place for them to
And Lenny Cook is a Jamaican, my friend. Could he be Jamaican everybody crazy by getting that Ferrari on pole position? It's got to be close. It's going to go 20 thousandths of a second. There it is, Lenny. You almost did it, but you can hear the Tifosi going absolutely ballistic for him. Hey, Jamaicans, the last time you've seen a Jamaican in Formula One, well, Lenny Cook is, if I'm mistaken. Was it a Jamaican flag? Or am I all confused?
Who knows? Well, either way, Tifosi are going to be happy. It's enough for first row, and that is some good news that they'll definitely be loving. Say, Ten Aken was on a really good lap, but goes for the abandon, heads into the pits. So not sure what their plan is. Lapalainen and Korsgaard are also remaining in the pits, although Korsgaard has just come out and is looking to get a time on the board. They're going to have to make that decision pretty quickly, though. Really got to get a move on, because they have only got 3 minutes to go.
Korsgaard just got your message, mate. Just got the fax. That was fax. He's like, fax? Yes. Apparently they're using faxes down there at the moment. That's how slow they're getting the message. Eventually got it, of course. So Korsgaard goes out. AJ Jackson, you'd expect to pull in one of those surprises soon, maybe, if he comes out of the pit lane and maybe dethrone everybody else. And, well, E2's got to get out there and do something soon. I think they're going to wait for the very last moment, mate. As you know, usually the most amount of grip on the track, isn't it? Which last across the line, maybe the quickest.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of sort of metagame strategy, waiting for the track to be rubbered in. It's a very clever move. So it may not mean much to us, but those little extra bits of rubber being laid down on the track, that's going to be extra grip for the drivers. And even if that amounts to hundredths of a second, usually more than anything, it means stability and confidence to push the car as long as you keep on the intended line.
Well, you know what time it is? It's crunch time. If you're speaking on the intended lines, because you've got to get it done right now. It's also bragging rights. It's great, isn't it, to be in SwiftX, to be the quickest man around the Temple of Speed. That's one you kind of want to tick off your qualifying resume. Let's see who can do it. Korsgaard now starting a flying lap.
It's looking good for the Williams here. So taking a very smooth line. I think the name of the game here at Monza is smoothness, with speed being such a big factor. The less speed you can scrub off with the tyres and the more progressive you can be with the inputs, really the better you'll be, both for the health of your tyres, the amount of speed you can carry. So say Korsgaard looking like he has purples on really good form, keeping that car nice and well tucked, heading into the Lesmos now. He's going to keep it together, really hanging right to the edge of track limits. So trying to maximise the track. It's looking good for them. and keeps it on the straight and narrow. Purple sector 1, are we going to see that being matched? They coming onto the bridge, heading up into Ascari. It's going to be a loss of time. We're seeing a lot of people losing time through the second sector in particular. Only a few people are actually in the greens.
Sorry to cut you off. The Aston Martin up the road is going to be, very quick. Will should be very, very, very quick here. Bang, does it 19.3, but go back, of course, and see what happened there to Cosguard. Actually, you got Cosguard up the screen. What can he do for his first real good flying lap, hopefully?
That's going to be enough for a P7. It's a 590 with Jackson coming in with a 792. Tanakin coming in with a 683. Everyone is throwing in their laps and throwing their hat into the ring at the very, very last second as the final seconds fall. And don't forget, they have a second chance if they're really not happy. But with the battery fully expended, they don't know if they're going to be any better. Lappalainen has got 2 purples. I'm not sure what is going on in the Hasfield and whatever they're cooking up, but if he can hook it up, he's on board for a monumental lap here. So the 2 Aston Martins are dominating the front row. Is anyone going to challenge that reign? Looks like Lappalainen wants to, but is he going to make it work? It's all about this last corner here. Is he going to keep it?
Quicker. Yeah, everybody's going quicker at the moment. This track is E2. What's he going to do? Bang! 19.23. And keep an eye out. There's the quick driver. AJ is going to pull out another AJ special, maybe. As he's flying in the first sector. Purple not purple in the middle. Purple's been replaced by Jasper ten Hacken. So keep an eye on these 2 gladiators. Centaurians now, of course. What can they do? Can they steal it away? Can anybody break the 18 club?
They're bringing the absolute heat. No holds barred. Hardwick came to challenge Lappalainen. Wasn't enough. AJ comes in. Is only enough for P6. It's a 527. Tenaken is going to come in with 384. It's going to be enough for 5th fastest. You got a couple players left on track. Tim Brinker's going to cross the line. It's not going to be any dice for them. And then Korsgaard going to retire to the pits, going with the abandon in that situation. But what a run. E2 coming in with the heat in the last second. I knew we would see some last lap rushes. I knew it.
Yeah, we did. And it was actually really, really surprising because both of Jasper ten Hacken and AJ are lighting up timing boards, but they made a mistake in the 3rd sector. That's what cost them that pole position. That's something that E2 didn't. E2 didn't even set a single purple. He didn't need to. He's just at the fastest lap. 19.230. And Thomas, of course, 37 thousandths of a second. They wanted to, I'd have to say, of course, a Ferrari-powered Haas, they wanted to deny, didn't they, the British team, of course, a chance of getting pole in Italy.
Well, they set
Keep the Tifosi semi-happy.
So, despite the fastest sectors coming up on the board, so they ultimately didn't have it all strung together at once, and that is where E2 came into his own. So there we go. Lappalainen coming in with a 2.30.19 and is going to lead on the top row. Then you go to heading down the field. Alpine really not having a good time. Hardwick is going to be down in P12 following a 10-place grid penalty. But otherwise, it's a great time. Casson and Franklin take P3 and P4 for the Aston Martins. Tenaken in P5. Lenny Cook spearheading the Tifosi efforts in P6 with a 119.417. And then the 2 Williams in P7 and P9 with Tim Brinker splitting the 2. Maximilian Costa, unfortunately, for whatever reason, got relegated to a disqualifications all the way down in P10. Not really sure what happened there, but
they're disqualified for a wrong way. Apparently, you know, they say Michael Massey's was a strict, you know, a questionable FIA. But I tell you what, the game is even more stricter. So something happened there. Obviously, he was disqualified, but he still will be in the top 10, no doubt. In fact, he'll be 9th place because remember, we do have one of the drivers that will be taking a 10-place grid penalty.
Yeah, so it will be a net P9 in the end for Kloss, but so far it's looking like a very, very spicy race ahead of us.
You got a bit of food on your mind, don't you? Spices. We got pizza we were talking about earlier. I think we need to get some.
You're the one with the pizza. I'm just following along. Either way, it looks like we've got a couple
thank you
to
everybody
talk to.
for following along on the qualifying session that we had, because we will have time now to get a snack if you want, maybe something spicy. And if you did enjoy that qualifying session, please give us a thumbs up, of course. And once again, if you're going to search for pizza on your pineapple, do it with the NordVPN so that you don't get in trouble with the Italianos. here that I don't think I'm going to get out of customs, mate. Immigration, they're going to stop me at the border. Maybe they'll just throw me out and ban me forever. I don't know.
Either way, so we've got a few people that we got to talk to. Of course, we've got some star drivers from the brilliant performances that we just had in Q3. Let's talk to one of them now. And who else to talk to than E2? How are we doing?
Hello. I'm doing good.
As it should be.
Yeah.
So
You sound massively excited.
Of
You
course.
just qualified on pole in Italy. This is Monza, mate. This is the Temple of Speed. This is the one you want to get pole on. Tick that off on your resume, mate.
I know. Really good lap. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Only one lap as well, so yeah.
And on top of that, how you gonna feel going to that turn one? Of course, that's always an opportunity for both P1 and P2. Any little secrets you're gonna share? You're gonna try to cover it off. No Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton moment.
Of course, I have to get a good start first. That's the. If you get a good start, then maybe I'll lead into turn one. But I'm not really good at starts anyway, so I hope for a good start.
Either way,
you hooked up. Yeah, sorry, my last question there. But you hooked up the perfect lap without setting a single purple.
Yeah.
So yeah, just consistency.
Okay. Yeah.
Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah. My turn one was pretty bad. I think I went over the curb in the first turn, and then whilst Kari was pretty perfect. Almost invalidated, but yeah, I went all in. I said to myself that I go all in, or yeah.
Either way, you did what had to be done, and it was good enough to be put on pole. I guess one last question before we head off and head to the break into some of the other drivers is, of course, to say you put in that brilliant lap without setting that single purple. But what is just in general your confidence? I mean, like how comfortable are you with this track?
Usually my race pace is much better than quali pace, but I haven't done much practice, so I don't really know. I think I'm pretty confident. Let's say maybe turn one is pretty bad for me, but rest of the track is pretty good.
Yeah.
We'll let you get down there and relax with the team and celebrate for a little bit, and maybe put some inters on because it could be raining. You don't know.
Maybe.
You never know.
I hope.
Thank you very much. E2, Lapalainen.
Thank you.
There we go. So we have one more to talk to, and that is a bit of a curious case. I say that is going to be Hardwick. Let's get him in here now. And first off, want to say, Mr. Hardwick, what a great lap you put on there. I mean, you feeling happy with your performance on track today, at least?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy for second, to be fair. I mean, to be fair, I mean, it's kind of bittersweet because I've got a 10-place grid penalty for the race, so, you know.
Yeah, just curious, do you know what the stewards deemed to give you that 10-place grid penalty?
It was just for accidental ready up, which is quite minor, but, you know, it is what it is.
Okay, it is what it is. Yeah, rules are rules, mate. But qualifying, you got it done, so got to be happy, as you said. Like, you set the fastest third sector there, and you're going to be starting on the front row, so opportunities into turn one. If you could perhaps get past the Haas driver.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try my best, I guess.
Oh, sorry, you won't be on the front row. My apologies. I forgot about that penalty. Yeah, well, maybe if you pass everybody, get into turn one. That's a possibility, of course, but that'll be a late dive. Don't try that at home, boys and girls. But yeah, overall race, any surprise strategy you might be looking at doing? Mediums, hards, gamble on softs in the safety car? Who knows?
Yeah, I'll probably be doing hards, try and get as far up the field as I can for the race.
A solid decision. As it's a stable one, and I guess one of my last questions really is, like, my only question even. I say last, but of course you had the grid place penalty. One thing that cropped up in my mind is that no matter where you place say brilliantly driven to get all the way up into P2, but that's still going to only net into P12. The question that I have is, what made you decide to gun it for qualifying, knowing you have that penalty, as opposed to maybe just letting the dogs lie, as it were, and choosing to, I say, sit out qualifying, knowing that whatever you do would be nerfed? Was that ever a decision for you, or was it just always going to be a case of you go out for qualifying no matter what?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it was just self-belief, really. I mean, Q1, I was nearly knocked out, and I just said to myself, going into Q2, I've got to get as close to the front row as possible to kind of make gain on the 10-place grid penalty. So yeah, I'd say I'd definitely done that.
Yeah, you definitely did a really good job of damage control there. So yeah, unfortunately it will just be P12 in the end, but what a performance to get it to that point from a 10-place penalty. That is really remarkable.
Thank you.
Dean, any words?
No, that's great. Good. It's good to see you. You see, all you can do, obviously, penalties are penalties, but you put the car where you possibly can put it to the best of your ability. That's a great lap, and looking forward to seeing you in a race. So yeah, get something. Yeah, give us something spicy in the race, at least for Ben, because he's.
I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll try.
All right, thanks, mate. That's Thomas.
Thank you.
Hardwick, qualified in P2.
Great stuff, and that is going to be us today, checking out for a short break in between quali and the race. So definitely be back with us to say about 15 minutes time. You won't want to go anywhere. Keep it SwiftX. We will see you at 8:30 British Standard Time for the Italian Grand Prix. In the meantime, enjoy some entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tifosi is out, the flags are flying, and the SwiftX NordVPN Italian Grand Prix is ready to set sail. Of course, we join us just after an intense qualifying session to bring to you. We have some of the best racing here on F1 22. So you love it and hate it. It is the Temple of Speed Monza, say 3.599 miles, 11 turns, 2 DRS zones, and over 340 kilometers an hour. So about 210 miles an hour. Drivers giving it absolutely everything. But let's take a look at your starting grid then for today, folks. So taking the top of the timesheets at E2 Lapalainen and Will Casson, taking the top row after their blistering 119 and in the 2s and the 3s. Luke Franklin and Jasper Ten Hacken take P3 and P4, taking up the second row. Maximilian Kloss, after getting disqualified in Q3, gets their time reinstated. That's good enough for P5 alongside Lenny Cook in P6. AJ Jackson, with an absolute corker of a lap in Q2, brings in P7 in Q3 alongside Luke Tembrinka. And then you have Korsgaard and Liam Markham taking up row 5 for the Williams and the Alfa Romeos respectively. Ryan Yelty takes up P11 with Hardwick being relegated to P12 after a 10-place grid drop. Then looking down the field, you have Peter Locke and Jacob Shelton, P13 and P14 for the Red Bulls and McLaren. And then rounding down the bottom end of the field, you have Alex Hostler in the McLaren, Joshua Bashwood in the Alfa Romeo, and Antonio Cortez rounding out the bottom of the field in the second Ferrari. Now, of course, I'm not alone, as always, in the commentary box. I am joined by the one, the only Dean Biggles, and we're going to jump straight into things as we are on the field for the formation lap. How are you feeling about the racing?
Oh, what a qualifying session. A little bit of a mix, of course, and thankfully we got the reinstated driver, of course, that was who was Maximum Kloss, of course, that was disqualified accidentally. So Michael Massey has apologized to him, so he gets another shot at there. And positive all around, haven't we heard from the interviews, of course, and the drivers? I mean, we obviously had E2 that in his E2 moment, as excited as he possibly could be, right, to be on pole. Well, let's see if he's going to make it stick into turn 1.
As I say, yeah, everyone's looking in good spirits. Everyone's confident about their performance here in Monza. But of course, you have the treacherous turn 1. The big concertina is about to kick in, but let's hope that all of the drivers can keep their nose clean as we have everyone lining up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Track is live and we are away. It looks like a great start from Cook and absolutely zipping by in the Ferrari. He's going to get a really good run there. Will Kassan not quite getting the start he wanted. E2 also dropping down a bit. It's going to be 3 abreast heading into the first corner. There's going to be contact. They're going to be Lapalainen being forced wide along with what looks like Kassan as they are down in P3, P4. Chaos up and down the field, though it looks like everyone has managed to get out of it unscathed. A little bit of contact here and there, but everyone's for the most part keeping their noses clean. Cook on the soft tyres is going to have to make the most of those pretty quickly as you see some spins going on. That's going to be Temprinka being all relegated all the way down to the bottom of the field, as it looks like Ren Yelty was part of that, and just like that, in lap 1, we're already on a virtual safety car.
Yeah, a lot of Ascari moments, as you would expect. Sorry, not Ascari. That was turn 4 and turn 5, actually. Yeah, Rigotta. But yeah, Lenny Cook on the Ferrari there, electing to go with that tyre strategy of soft. So he's going to be hoping for a full safety car later on, but we're on a virtual safety car. And Luke Franklin takes the lead there. And E2, of course, didn't get off to the great start he needed, but P5.
Yeah, there's a one that is really not going to have a good start. But hopefully with the virtual safety car, there's a little bit of a redemption opportunity, is going to be Bashford. So he's at the bottom of the field. He's missing an end plate right now and is going to have to work pretty hard to get back up to the top end of the field. Looks like we're having a few drivers heading into the pits. That's going to be, say, 4 drivers getting damage, losing wings. It's going to be both Red Bulls on the double stack. That's really going to compromise their race situation.
Ouch, ouch. And Will just gets past Jasper Ten Haken on the medium tyres down the main straight to make his way up into P3 currently at the moment. E2 also got AJ up into P5. AJ hooked up with a penalty of 3 seconds already. Something's going on there. And now Luke Franklin is challenging Lenny Cook. Lenny Cook has actually got Luke using the soft tyres, taking him brilliantly into turn 4. Getting the job done, but remember, those boots aren't going to make it work, and Jacob and P9 and P10 are also going side by side, and somebody's gone slow, actually. It could have been Jacob, and Korsgaard's going to try to go around the outside of the Alpine. That's going to be dangerous.
Just about keeping it work. Say, Cook is in such a good position right now. He's got the soft tyres, he has that pace advantage, and he has clean air. All he needs to do is capitalize on that freedom if he wants to really get the use out of those soft tyres. But it doesn't look like Franklin's going to give him an easy run. He's going to keep on the tail, and although he is dropping away, he does have the advantage of the slipstream and eventually the DRS when that kicks in.
Yeah, the different tyres, mediums and hards and softs, of course, is a little bit different. And Lenny needs to get up the road, obviously, as quickly as possible before those tyres fall off the cliff. But, mate, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. And look at that. Can you hear the thousands and thousands, the tens of thousands of Tifosi fans going absolutely ballistic because a Ferrari's now leading the race on lap 3 with DRS enabled? Madness. And, well, we're going to find out whether he's going to make it. AJ making a run perhaps into turn 1 there on E2. No. But maybe Luke Brinker has, I think, on Korsgaard, so there's changes there, P11 and P12 as well.
Yeah, although right now, eyes are on this mid-pack as we may potentially see a 3-way battle start to come to fruition. You've got Kloss, Jackson, and Lapalainen all bunched up together. Kloss is on the medium tyres. He's got the advantage and is clearly itching to get around that Williams. You can see him constantly trying to get that gap closed up, but he's also got a little bit of traffic, a little bit of dirty air to potentially compete with. And just as quickly as he gets up close again, it's falling away.
Yes, exactly. But there's hard tyres. It should be a little bit more. He's got Kloss, of course, keeping him down. There's so the drivers from Ryan there, Antonio, Alex Holster, Joshua Bashford, and Peter Locke of all boxed with that damage on lap 1, but they're still in the race, which is crucial, of course. 17 Centurions now. I'm not using Gladiators because they made it to the race. It's fantastic. Lenny Cook has gained for 5 positions, mate. Getting his way up into that P1, and trying to break that 1 second barrier from Luke, who got a fantastic start. And of course, his teammate Will Kassan's behind him. But let's think about AJ right now on E2. Here we go, turn 1. Welcome to Monza.
Yes, E2 really not having the best of races, as now they've been taken up by, and in fact, as they're going too deep into turn 1, is going to sacrifice another position to Kloss. So the medium runner has got around the Haas there, and E2 is really not having a good time. Because started on pole, not sure what happened with that start there. Did say he wasn't very good at it, and maybe almost psyched himself out. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. By saying enough times that you aren't good at something, you eventually come to believe it and almost fulfill that statement. Fortunately, that seems to be what happened here.
It's still early in the race, of course, so it means he's got plenty of time to go with strategy. Unfortunately, it looks like Korsgaard has retired in the pit lane, so perhaps a little bit too much damage there for the Williams driver, and that means that's it. Unfortunately, can't get those repairs done. If you retire in the pit lane like that, I suggest probably would have to get that if anybody could give us information out there for the engineers. Because we do have an engineer for the McLaren drivers, and one of the McLaren drivers at the moment, unfortunately, has done something just as I spoke about. Alex has dropped a couple of places. Alex also is starting on the soft tyres as well, trying to claw his way back with Joshua Bashford there for 14th place.
So here we go. We've got Jackson now trying to potentially stage up a move on Tenaken. He's going to be side by side down the start-finish straight. Has the DRS, has the inside line. Doesn't quite have the speed advantage to fully commit to a move, but they're still going to be side by side. Tenaken's going to keep his nose out, but it's not going to be enough. That Williams is up into P4, and what a move it was. So timed to arguably perfection, and now he's got 2 or 3 seconds between himself and the podium, because taking up that podium are the 2 Aston Martins, who are right on the tail, despite the compound advantage, are right on the tail of Lenny Cook still.
Yes, Lenny might be feeling the pressure in a minute. Maybe Liam and Thomas Hardwick are making a little bit of exchanges, but good job there for AJ. No doubt. Both AJ and Jasper ten Haken were very, very quick in the first and second sectors of that final qualifying session, and they made a little bit of mistake into the third sector. That was the reason why they probably both would be on pole at the moment, but they are very, very quick. We'll see how that pans out. Of course, yes, both the Aston Martins can work together now, and they know at some point Lenny's going to have to get in that pit lane and get those tyres changed. Liam Markin now's putting a bit of pressure on. I'm not quite sure where to look. Maybe Luke might be able to make a run out of Parabolica right now on the Ferrari. We'll see. I've been just a little bit too far back.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on what's going on. But as it stands, we have 2 drivers out by this point, because we have, Korsgaard, but we also have Scholten out of the running. Was that a pit lane retirement, do you know?
Was it pit lane retirement? Yes, and if the engineers out there, please let us know, as it seems to me another one with too much damage, remember. We are in a big boy club, of course, SwiftX, so this is the best of the best. They do have damage on the cars that cannot be repaired, and that might be a little bit too much there, unfortunately, for Jacob. He's got the other teammate, of course, of Alex still in their P13 on the soft tyres, but he boxed already, as well as other gladiators did in the first laps to get some repairs. But Luke Franklin now really hunting in Lenny Cook, the Jamaican man that got that Ferrari very close and currently leading this race. But how long can he hold him off on these boots?
Only a matter of time. Those softs are going to have to give at some point soon. It's just a matter of time before Franklin potentially capitalizes. I was saying that through the middle of Ascari gets a little bit of a wavering in the car, a little wavering in the confidence as we head through. And right now it's looking like Franklin is in fact just biding his time a little bit, which I think is the wiser move in the grand scheme of things, as they wait for Cook to outrace his tires, start to make him lose time of his own accord. You can see here, even with the soft tires, the DRS is so powerful. We're hitting 350 kilometers an hour on the main start finish straight and getting right to the tail of that Ferrari. Both Aston Martins, in fact, are encroaching on that space fast.
352 actually for maximum Kloss on that one. But yes, Luke Franklin got the 350 club. That's actually 350 was a little bit more than we saw during the qualifying, actually, believe it or not. So that's the fastest time we've seen all weekend. And look at that Ferrari now, no traction, as you can see, coming out of 4 and 5, and you can see it now. Definitely Luke's going to have so much more pace, but is he going to be happy to stay back? Now he's giving his teammate a nice toe on the DRS. They are 2.6 seconds down the road from AJ, but I think AJ is starting to reel him in. So at this point right now, both of the Aston Martin drivers need to probably think about getting past Lenny.
Yes, but interestingly, Franklin chooses to close his DRS early. Notice on the second zone, his flap opened for a split second and then it closed again.
Maybe
I think that was a team play.
Yeah, so he also doesn't enclose too much speed on the Ferrari. Remember, the Ferrari's now losing traction in the corners there and can catch him off guard. And he's thinking about, I want to keep my front wing.
I really think that's such a good move there from Franklin. So making sure that he is keeping the Ferrari in check, but also not leaving his teammate out to dry. So he could get too far ahead. He could leave his teammate really in the sticks, being unable to get past. But here we go, side by side, wheel to wheel. They're going to go 2 abreast, heading into the first turn. It's going to be very tight, but keeping it clean and keeping it sharp is going to be Franklin coming out on top. Those softs, I think, are starting to fall away because the Aston Martin is now up into P1, and the Ferrari is on the recharge. You can see him trying to throw a bit of a dummy heading into turn 3, but it's not going to be to any effect.
Lenny Cook wants to hold it off as much as possible. He's delaying the inevitable, praying for a safety car perhaps to come out there so he can change his boots. He's burning through his energy because if you're on board with Will, for example, you can see the red lights flashing in the red Ferrari. Ferrari's going to get a tow. Lenny's not going to make it as easy, of course, because he knows by delaying these guys is also probably helping his chances later on. Once again, he's also delaying the inevitable of hopefully a safety car that he needs for this soft tire strategy. We shall see. About to make their way around Parabolica to start lap 9, and of course AJ's reeling them in now, shaving a little bit of time off per lap in P4 and trying to keep Jasper and Maximum behind him in the DRS train.
Yeah, the DRS train really is the name of the game, I think. It is something to be so careful of. But here we go, seeing as Lenny is left like a sitting duck, even with his own DRS, it's not going to be enough to combat Castle on the mediums. He's going to be pushing around in the start-finish straight, and in fact, Cook's going to lock up heading into the first corner. Just like that, the Ferrari really falling away. If I was that Ferrari, I would be thinking about potentially swapping tires at this point.
Yeah, we got to see. He's got to look at his gap to AJ. That's going to be the key. If he starts losing time a lot to AJ, as Liam and Mr. Brinker have exchanged positions back there as well, 9th and 10th. That's the thing. Lenny's got to really be looking at. Now the gap's down to 1.6 exactly to AJ. So yeah, at this point, you're dropping too much time. Box now, otherwise you'll be... what do you guys out there think? For strategy, here in Monza, it's difficult to tempo of speed. You've got to get it timed right. We've only had a virtual safety car. We don't know if we're going to have a full safety car or not. So far, so good. 2 pit lane retirements, but plenty of action.
It certainly doesn't look like it's going to be quieting down anytime soon. So the question is
AJ's reeled him in too, mate.
That's
DRS
the second
now,
McLaren out. That's Hostler. Yeah. Is that a pit lane retirement as well?
It is. It is a pit lane retirement now.
I think there's a really big problem with that MCL car.
Yeah. So we'll wonder where our engineer is out there in the chat. He's been quiet, I guess. He's been micromanaging. Lenny's finally boxed as well. I believe the other soft runner had boxed before too. So that's it. Those softs are dead.
As they softs are
return to sender.
It's a 2.2 second stop. It's very fast from the Ferrari. So the pit crew on point. They know how crucial this stop is. Where is he going to come out, though? It's going to be tight, but it's going to be P10. And in fact, a little bit of his own space. 20 seconds between the Selps and Yelty. So pretty good position, especially if he needs to get those hards up to temperature. I wouldn't be too dissatisfied with that.
He's got to do the old Schumacher days, isn't it? I mean, he's in a Ferrari, so obviously, and Schumacher used to do that pit stops and then just put banker laps and banker laps and banker laps in. It was a clean air right now. He's on the fresh hard tires, get him up the temperature. So far, so good. And yes, absolutely, what a fantastic job both the Aston Martins have done. So they started in P3 and P2, currently running in P1 and P2. What are they going to do for their strategy soon? As Jasper's now approaching Mr. Maximum Kloss.
I can't help but feel nervous, though, for the Aston Martins, purely because they're running such similar times, such similar strategies. If those two get too close together, how are they going to decide who's going to go where? I feel like if we see a battle of first drivers, it's going to be nothing but problems. So hopefully they have something in check.
Yeah, you hope. And thank you very much. Mike out there's not happy. Whatever questions you got about McLaren, please leave me alone. Sorry, Mike. Will's gone in. So there you go. That's maybe answered one of the questions, who is going to jump first in the Aston Martin team. Will or Will?
So I think it's a good call. I think that both of them running so close to each other, and especially coming up to that pit window, it's a bad idea. So having one of them pit maybe a couple laps early, be a bit more of a wingman supporting figure, I think is good. So this means you don't get in each other's space.
Jasper 10 hacking at the moment on the hard tires. I'm wondering whether or not those medium tires are starting to burn off a little bit because he's approaching Maximum Kloss, of course. Maximum Kloss that did eventually end up starting in P5 on the grid because of the penalty that was removed by the stewards. So he was good there and in a good position, currently running in P3. But medium tires, how far can they go, guys? You know, Luke Franklin's also on those mediums.
And I think, say, Franklin will probably pit in the next couple laps or so. It's just about making sure that they can get enough of a gap to where they can comfortably come out and clean air, especially if they have an optimal pit
24,
stop.
Yeah, 24 seconds is the time around here. So about just under a 4-second pit stop in and out with your crew, and overall about 24 seconds. So there it is, and that's maximum going in. So you can work out the gap to leader on that one and kind of work out how's it going to pan out when AJ comes in. Of course, we saw that Lenny Cook took the early pit stop, and he currently at the moment, Lenny is, well, give or take, he's about 26 seconds away from our race leader, putting in purple laps too. So expect that Ferrari to do the Schumacher-esque days, which he needs to, because obviously if you can get that under 24 seconds, well, he could resume the lead of this race later on.
So it hasn't really got that much of an option at this point in time, though, is the hard thing to grasp. He's still come out, even with that absolutely blistering pace, he's still come out behind both Aston Martins, almost as if it's an orchestrated order, as if it was meant to be. Franklin up in, say, P6 with Cass in P7 and Cook P8. Even with that fastest lap, I think, say, the difference in strategy is ultimately amounted to a net 0.
And the Aston Martins, as you mentioned, are just happy to tow each other along, of course. So Will and Luke Franklin. Lenny Cook is going to work his Ferrari butt off to try to catch them. Of course, we get in that DRS. You know how mighty and powerful it is. It's 1.3 down the road. You can see them. You can see green in a land of red in Monza. So that's, yeah, Italians are going to be cheering if he can make it work. He's got to reel them in. And you know, Will Casson and Luke maybe even do that old switcheroo scenario, isn't it? Like you run out of ERS and then Mike switch it over and then exchange. We don't know. Whatever it's working.
I don't even think we'll see that purely because they can conserve the ERS by sort of running so closely together.
You are right on that one. And at the moment, let's have a look. So their gap to AJ. AJ currently leading the race, yet to box. Of course, those top 5 drivers are yet to box. They are, well, Luke is 22 seconds away from AJ. So should be no problemo for them to be in the lead of the race when AJ boxes and Jasper Ten Haken and so forth. And you're wondering at that point how much time you're going to start losing. Well, we're going to have a look also at those laps because Luke and Will are lapping in the 122.5s. 122.8 and 7s are for AJ and Jasper, so you can see they're going to drop a couple of tenths per lap at the moment.
They've got no choice, I say, ultimately. That is sort of the differences in the strategy, I think, a little bit comes down to there. But the other thing that has to sort of be said and is put on the table is, remember what we said about, say, raceable setups versus quali setups? I think, although we still need to factor in differences in tyres, the fact that he hasn't boxed yet, but Hardwick is currently up in P3.
Yes, and that's interesting for engineers out there. And I know at the moment Mike's probably not a lot of engineering can do because both of the McLarens are out. Mike, if you were engineering some of the other drivers, what were you kind of thinking about the strategies now? They're going to stretch these tyres as much as they can. We're just on the halfway point of this SwiftX racing series. And by the way, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying it at the moment. Certainly sunshine conditions, a little bit overcast, but beautiful, beautiful day here in Italy. The Temple of Speed, of course, as Will and Luke are just cruising on by there. And once again, they've dropped Lenny Cook now. Lenny Cook's actually 2.4 seconds down the road. So the Ferrari driver can't keep up to the pace of the Aston Martins at the moment.
Yeah, so we have the top 5 drivers yet to box. That is going to be Jackson, Tanak and Hardwick, Tim Brinker and Markham, all yet to pit. And they will have to do so eventually because those hards, you kind of want to be off them as soon as possible. So there is a turning point where even if you can take the hards further, those mediums just have a pace advantage that is definitely worth it. And not to mention that, but also the tyre switch rule. One thing I want to bring up though,
Yeah, and E2 unfortunately hasn't. I mean, the Haas driver that qualified on pole at the moment is currently running down there in P10. Now he's taken a pit stop earlier, so he's got rid of those hard tyres. He did 11 on them, and now he's on some fresh mediums. He's starting to set some pretty good times. He's in the 21.7s, and that is a very good time considering everybody else is in the 22s and 23 club. Keep that up for a long time, and you crawl your way back into getting some crucial points. But once again, there's no more pit stops generally you'd expect from those drivers above him, apart from the top 5, and that'll be the point. But look how quickly the Aston Martins now are catching Liam.
Say those hards really do have a bit of a weak point, but look at that. Liam is struggling between those two Astons right now, is sandwiched between. Kazan is on the tail, firmly stating their intention to say, look, I want to get by you. I don't care that you haven't stopped yet. I am getting by. And look, you see, getting side by side with each other, taking no prisoners.
But Liam's not going to give up. He's going to say, I've got the Tifosi here, my friend. Remember, Ferrari power. And the Aston Martins just closed the door on him. Of course, Will's got by eventually. It's tyres. That's what makes a difference. Kind of an important thing, isn't it? 4 points of contact between the machine and the track are those big round things called tyres. And they are very, very important in the temple of speed.
Yes, they are absolutely, it's vital to the strategy game. Well, Cook is right now really fallen away, but he kind of had to. At the last time we checked, when he was behind those Aston Martins, he had burned absolutely everything. His tires were getting too hot. His ERS was
AJ's boxing.
Gone. AJ is now boxing. I think this is the turning point for the hard tires, where we see the mediums start to come out and see if we can stretch them as much as they can over the course of the race.
And Luke's come in. Let's have a look where AJ's going to come out. Of course, bang, both the Aston Martins going to go cruising on by. Hey, can he come out just ahead of Liam? He's going to want to because Liam hasn't boxed. No, he's going to get held up now by Liam. So that's a strategy may not have worked out brilliantly for Williams. So he can get a tow from him, no doubt, but he's got to get past him as quickly as possible. AJ on softs.
A big gamble there from the Williams. I can't help but question a bit of the thinking behind that, considering these things love to wear out so quickly. They give you such an advantage, but just as quickly as they giveth, they taketh away. If you want to get them on any form of long stint, you are nursing several seconds down.
I'm trying to chat with the team principals that they're wondering what's going on in the Williams racing team. About that. So now 2 drivers yet to box. AJ should make mincemeat of Liam. Of course, 15 lap hard tyres versus 0 fresh, grippy red stripe ones. No problemo. Jasper Ten Hacken, remember the man leading the championship. He's a pretty wise old driver. I'm not saying old, of course, he's young, but he's boxing right now. I was about to say, what's his strategy going to be? And he's answered the question for me. It's called boxing on lap 17.
And there you go. So it's going to be the mediums, it's going to be the yellow walls. It's a really good pit stop there from the Mercedes. Where's he going to come out though? Hardwick also in the pit. That just leaves the Aston Martins flying by out the pit exit.
He's lost it to, remember he was right behind AJ. He's lost it out to Lenny. Liam still has yet to box on that old strategy. He'd get out ahead of Maximum Kloss, so there it is. So Jasper Ten Hacken, I have to say that strategy's obviously worked out for AJ, but however, AJ, can he make those tyres go to the end? I'm not quite sure. I'm almost going to ask his engineer in a minute if he does. And he's reeling in, of course, both. He wants some Aston Martins at the moment for an afternoon snack here in Monza.
He's out hungry. He's out for blood right now. But look behind, as that is Peter Locke going absolutely off the track. That's going to be a full safety car. So losing the wheel there. Debris all over the track. We'll see if we can get a better view of that. You can see that the Red Bull is just completely marooned on track.
Now, how's the safety car go throw a spanner in the mix? Because of course, Liam, well, he's got a box, doesn't he? Because he gets to get rid of these tires. And will AJ elect to get rid of those soft tires? He just put them on.
I think he's going to keep them.
It's going to be an interesting strategy. Yeah, if he keeps them, of course, that'll actually save his tires for a little bit, so it won't be too bad. What about Luke and Will? They're coming around now. Now, this is going to be interesting. What is Luke going to do? Are they talking together? They are debating? Yes, he is. Luke's going in. Will Will follow him? That double stack, he did. Did he time it enough for this double stack? Let's find out.
So I think AJ Jackson is going to stick with it. So you can see him rocketing ahead.
Is he going to cost? Is he going to cost time? It is a double stack. It's going to cost a little bit. Oh, almost perfect. I don't know, maybe a millisecond between both the Aston Martins. But they did manage to get in and out. How much time is it going to cost them, of course, because it's all thrown over the place right now. We have Jasper Ten Hacken. Has that not worked out brilliantly for the driver? Because he just boxed before. He's got fresh mediums. And in P2, E2, of course, that qualified on pole. It looked all pole-shaped. Now, he's been putting in some massively quick laps. We haven't seen the pictures on him and the Haas driver, but he has the fastest lap. He's currently in P3 with tyres that can go to the end as well. Well, mate, I hope you absolutely like your spiciness on this race for SwiftX round 10. And if you guys out there in the chat are loving this, please give us a thumbs up.
Yes, absolutely get involved. It's a racing top tier here, and really, what a way. We did not expect anything like this. I think it's safe to say we did not expect anything like this whatsoever. So, to think that for a race so sound for the Aston Martin to now be completely shaken up in the way that it has. So both of the Astons have boxed, are on the red walls. AJ taking the, I say, almost as if he predicted the future. So getting the softs on, and really, so getting a good stroke of luck with the safety car now means that those softs where he would have been ailing them across the 10 laps he would have run it otherwise, now gets a bit of a free card.
Yeah, he does. And I'm actually talking to one of his engineers, I'd have to say, and that's Jetty out there. G'day, Jetty, if you are listening. You sent me a message just before because I was curious about AJ's strategy, and they are obviously very good friends, both Canadians. And if you Jet's actually said if he nails the restart against the mediums behind him, he could pull of enough gap to be safe, and that's AJ that we're referring to. So thank you very much for that, Jet. Jet, by the way, isn't also another quick driver, so if anybody knows, Jet knows. He's probably one of the best strategy drivers I know too, mate. He can pull tyres out of places that tyres should not be running on a track. So there it is. But also look out for the other tyres, the medium runners, and everybody else on the fresh softs. Any other surprises so far in the grid?
So right now, only 3 drivers are running the mediums, and that's going to be Tanakan, Lapalainen, and Hardwick right now. I think that they will see a bit of a resurgence towards the final laps, but the question is it going to be enough, especially considering how long the safety car might be on track for? If it's 2, 3, maybe even 4 laps of the race to make sure the debris is cleared. Remember, that Red Bull was struck in right in the middle of the track, dead center. So you've got to move the car, and you have to get the debris clear of the track. So it may take
I missed
an extra
that,
lap or 2.
Unfortunately, I'll have to watch that one back in the replays and later on, because I wasn't looking at that moment when the Red Bull was stricken. Of course, it probably got a little bit of a cheer there from the Ferrari Tifosi to see a Red Bull there, but unfortunately we don't want to see any drivers there. Peter is okay, of course. He's out of the car and safe. But what corner was that? It wasn't the second Lesmo, was it?
No, it was just before. It was coming out.
Okay.
So, yeah, coming out just before.
We're not cursing the second Lesmo corner anymore, right? Because so far so good, everybody's been through there. And so far so good, everybody's been well through, apart from the first lap incidents of front wings and all that jazz. That occurs everywhere. Even the professional Formula 1 drivers can't get it right into turn 1 and turn 2. So it's what happens when they're all bunched up. However, those retirements, of course, from both of the McLarens and Korsgaard, well, that's all in the pit lane. So it was only one crash there from Peter, who's okay.
Well, I say the turn 1 and 2, especially, is so unpredictable. It's not surprising that even the best drivers can't get any, can't get a break in that segment, just because it is so much of an action zone. Everyone is coming in, piling into that area at hundreds of kilometers an hour, and suddenly has to brake. Everyone has to brake. Everyone has to account for the dirty air and the reduction in braking force as a result of the aerodynamics not working as well, working unpredictably. It all comes together in this stewing pot of chaos, and what you get is a little bit of argy-bargy through that section. It's often without fail, and if you manage to get out of there unscathed, it is my hat is tipped.
If you're brewing a stew, my friend, you just added a bit of spice to it, haven't you? That's for sure. Now, E2, of course, we were speaking about that. It is, you guys know it's crucial for qualifying. One, because it's the Italian GP, it's Monza. You want to always put that on your resume, as we said, get in pole position. But second of all, you want to clearly get through the first couple of corners. You know it's going to be carnage. It always generally is. The same thing in Monte Carlo and stuff like that. Get through there. Safety car will be in this lap. But E2, remember, I think he had to run wide. There's a lot of things to look at that one. But both those Aston Martins timed it brilliantly, didn't they? And now, let's see what they can do. Well, one Aston Martin that was leading this race as a safety car is peeled in. AJ now needs to do what his engineer out there of Jet said. Get a gap up the road there on those fresh softs. They're pretty fresh because you remember they're only 4 laps and 200 safety car.
We've got a couple of laps on the rest of the field, but they're hardly worn, and that is going to be an instrumental difference as AJ sets the pace of the race back up to speed. Not quite. Yep, now we go. Full race pace, folks. He's going to be pushing 100%, but Tanakan is just going to get the run on him. Lapalainen's going to get the run on him. It's either side, 3 abreast, heading into turn 1. It's going to be a battle of bravery. Tanakan's the first to yield. Lapalainen tries to hold it as best he can, but it's going to be AJ coming out perfectly, really using the extra grip of those softs to get such a clean breakaway. That could have been disaster, but the Williams has executed it perfectly. And he's going to be retaining that first position.
Welcome to SwiftX Motor Racing. If you could see 3 going into turn 1 and survive, not even Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen can do that. What great driving. And overtakes are moving everywhere. Lenny and Liam battling it out too at the moment. Lenny Cook at the moment, the Ferrari driver, is really on the cusp there with Will, of course. Aston Martin versus Ferrari in the land of Ferrari. This is going to get spicy.
Say 6 laps to go. Everything is on the line here. Drivers are giving it everything, tooth and nail. There's going to be Cortez and Klotz trading P10 and down to the Alpine. Tim Brink is going to be potentially getting his nose in there as well. We see just behind. Bashi is going to be also taking a quick position, a free position on Rain Yelty.
And Luke Franklin and Thomas around the outside of Parabolica. Old and brave. You don't want to see that one too much. He's going to have a great run. Thomas will now on Luke, who just got the overtake done. Remember, Luke is on the soft tires, but Thomas is going to have no DRS just yet, actually, because we just come off a safety car. Rely on the slipstream. Rely on your brakes in the turn 1 as well.
He needs to get that gap in. He needs to at least get past Lapalainen on those mediums while he has the soft advantage. This is the crucial turning point. He cannot afford to get stuck behind anyone, especially with the threat of someone like Hardwick behind. Those softs can drop off fast. They do still have a little bit of wear. Even if it was minimal wear on those safety car laps, it still matters. It's still important. Right now, he just needs to get by. Cook is also going to be thinking the same, but he's in a sea of soft tire runners. Markham's just ahead. A little bit of a rival, I think, has formed over the course of this race, and one that he's going to try and upset, but he's also got to keep the second Aston Martin of Will Casson behind. He's managed to get about half a second on him, but I don't know if that's going to hold, especially if he's juggling the dirty air of that Alfa Romeo just ahead. But the Tifosi is going to go wild for that, for sure.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If you're talking about juggling, welcome to the circus show at the moment, and it's not a circus show of bad performance. It's a circus of great performance. Luke now going to get a good exit on these soft tires out of Parabolica. Making a run on E2, of course, man. They did qualify on pole with a great lap. DRS is enabled right now. He says, thank you very much. I'll take 17 kilometers an hour. Maybe I'll take a Haas into turn 1. Let's see.
And see, there we go. That's going to be running around the outside, using those softs to great effect, almost locking up. And looks like we had Hardwick doing just that, taking it a bit too deep into turn 1. That's going to be sacrificing a couple positions, slotting back in P7, but that's going to be separating Cook and Casson, so you know the Ferrari is going to be happy about that one. Right
and
now,
Will around the outside too of Thomas. Let's have a look at that. Remember, Aston Martin's making gains here, perhaps. He has snuck on through turn 4 and turn 5.
Look,
Aston Martin's are back.
Close to the gravel right there. It was literal inches, but that's Hardwick
Thomas goes around.
That's going to be a critical collision. That's going to be Cortez out of the race. Hardwick manages to survive.
Safety car.
That's critical side pod damage. The impact straight to that side pod there.
Oh, wow. And you didn't think this race could get any more exciting. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is. Because now a safety car is deployed and AJ and everybody else has to come in. But this is going to be a bit of a problem there for the young Canadian driver because he's got that little penalty next to his name, 3 seconds. And you're going to be bunched up under a safety car with a handful of laps to go. That's a lot of work to do, but he elects to stay out.
They're just staying out for the time being. Really, it's all they can do.
Apart from E2.
It's not
This is
worth
going to
it.
hurt E2 a lot here. It's
I
gonna
don't know
drop.
why E2 is going in. It's not worth it at this point. I can get it for someone like Hardwick or someone like Bashi, bottom of the field and having major damage respectively. But I can't see it for the top runners. There's not enough laps to capitalize on that advantage no matter what you do. I'm just not seeing it. I think that Lappalainen has really thrown this one.
I agree. That was very, very strange. Now, he's on the cusp of perhaps getting a fastest lap. He has the fastest lap currently in the moment, and no doubt setting the fastest lap on qualifying could definitely produce it, but that's just dropped a whole bunch of points in this championship. And look where Jasper, of course, the man that is leading the championship, has got to try to reel AJ in. This is obviously a bit of a breathing space for AJ because he gets a more tire performance out of these tires under a safety car, but it's going to hurt AJ too because 3 seconds when they're all bunched up, when that safety car comes in, means all of a sudden podiums are not going to be in the Canadian drivers' trophy cabinet.
It's a worry. It definitely is a worry, and one they've got to keep in check. Now, safety car always comes in 2 laps before the finish, so it's this and potentially next lap, and then we are away. Yeah, we'll be next lap, but after that, it's a final 2-lap shootout, and that is where it's going to be the make or break. AJ, of course, where it was such a strong strategy before, I'm starting to question. Remember, they're going to be getting about 5 laps of light wear on those softs, so it may be a little bit harder for the defending side of things.
And not to mention, of course, he's got the current championship leader behind him, so that's going to be a little bit of something. Thomas has gone into the pit lane right now. It's definitely spiced up itself here. Thank you very much. Give us a thumbs up if you are enjoying this race, of course. It's been sponsored by the NordVPN. You got to use VPNs, of course. You'll know if you want to watch all the different stuff online at the moment. And even I actually want to watch the real F1 that I've subscribed to, I had to use a VPN. I had to use NordVPN. They wouldn't allow me to watch it in Panama for some reason under my IP. So yeah, get your VPNs in. Of course, you can watch all the different stuff on Netflix and all that sort of jazz. If you want to watch the British Netflix, select a UK IP and vice versa. This is it for sure. Safety car is going to come in. Benjamin, were you expecting Italy to be this amazing?
I didn't expect it to come down to the wire like this, or at least certainly not in this manner. I can tell you that much. Let's say the 2 laps that are about to go forth are going to be probably some of the hardest fought in the entire championship. You've got Jackson on the cusp of a win. You've got Ten Haken, the driver's leader, right on the tail with the mediums, right where the mediums start to get that advantage. You got Franklin, P3. It's really got a chance to make some serious points here and put another win under their belt. Everyone has their own narratives here, and everyone has something to drive for. 110%. They cannot let anything go here. They can't leave anything to chance. And as the safety car peels away, I think it's a rare moment where everyone is glued to the edge of their seat. It's very rare that a race comes down in such a way to such a tense finale, and I think we're about to see that boil over.
AJ has to now nail Curva Parabolica. That's where he made a little bit of a mistake during qualifying. He's got to get on the gas and get on the gas loud. He's got Jasper hunting him down, Luke Franklin, Leo Markham's doing a fantastic job, Lenny Cook, of course, in the Ferrari, hometown hero. Let's see, turn 1, bold and brave, tray tables upright, seats upright. Let's go. 2 more laps.
Right now, it's going to be Zay on board with Franklin bumping the rear tyre of Ten Haken. Going to stick it on board with that Aston Martin. There's a little bit of trading down the back end of the field. Casson going to get past Cook. Yelty going to get past Bashford. And right now, Luke Franklin is trying to keep those 2 in tow. But looks like AJ has still got a bit of fight in those softs, and he's going to have to. He doesn't have a choice.
And there's a spin from Will, unfortunately, into Regatta. And that's the Aston Martin going in the wrong direction here. England is the other way, my friend, unfortunately. But that's it. Lenny Cook now up into P5. Liam in P4. And the other Aston Martin of Luke is going to put some pressure on. And AJ hold off for another lap. But the problem is, how much time is AJ going to lose? He's looking at where Lenny Cook is at the moment. That penalty that will definitely hurt the Canadian driver. But don't think about it right now. Drive. And there's something off. That's Liam. Liam in the fence.
Luckily manages to recover and was able to potentially limp the car home, but God, that's going to be so difficult for Alfa Romeo. It's not going to be a good day in Parc Fermé and in the paddock for the team there.
Final lap now, AJ leading this race, but with the penalties. Jasper is going to be set to have the top step of the podium here from P4 to P1 perhaps. Lenny Cook battling it out B2 in the turn 1.
Isn't going to quite have it yet. It's a big lock up from the Ferrari. They're going to make contact. They're going to bang tyres. But E2 is going to hold firm. Is going to retain P4 for the time being. Cook has no choice but to yield in this situation. And although we were saying about Jackson and his struggling tyres, it looks like, from Ten Hagen's perspective, still managing to extract performance.
Oh, there's another penalty. Actually, surprisingly enough, that's the only second penalty that's come in here this evening. We don't know what's going on. Joshua and Ryan, of course, battling it at P8, P9. Checked out that battle side by side through the Lesmos. Bold and brave. Can that little fish helmet there of Joshua help him? Maybe give him a little bit of slipstream?
So Ryan is fully down at the bottom of the field though. It's going to be P11 as he takes a spin through the second Lesmo. The second Lesmo claims another victim, but right now all eyes are on the Williams. It's the final lap, the final corner. It looks like he has it truly sold in what can be described as the riskiest or luckiest strategy of his career here in SwiftX. AJ Jackson crosses the line, but with penalties, it's going to be Jasper Ten Hagen.
But AJ still gets a podium. You got to be happy with that. He's still got the race win across the line, of course, ahead of everybody else. But with those penalties, drops back into P3. But of course, well, the man leading the championship says, I got it done. But those different strategies are amazing. And you have to give it, obviously, you have to give it to Luke Franklin, actually, more than anything, because he took 2 pit stops. Joshua Bashford gets the driver of the day from Cody's. And why not? Started in P16, finished in P8, and he took 5 pit stops. Not bad.
What performance despite of that many pit stops. But yes, that's the penalty game. That is the penalty game at work. Of course, AJ did everything he could, but Ten Hagen, I think, was almost an intentional choice not to go for overtake, purely because they'd get it back on penalty.
Yep, happy camper. And another trophy to your collection, my friend. It's the Temple of Speed one. It's the Monza, and it's one of the best podiums you'll ever find in Formula One because you're above the crowd, you're over the track. Shake that champagne. Monza is yours.
And shake that champagne he will. Coming onto the podium with a little bit of swagger while he's at it. Taking the top step. Joining him on that top step, of course, we have AJ Jackson, who did cross the line first, but unfortunately relegated to P3 with Luke Franklin slotting just in between in the Aston Martin. It's a good day to be a British team here in Monza. There you go. The champagne flies. Sure it's a good day for them.
Are you sure you're going to say that, mate, in front of the old Italians when you're going to be departing to the airport? I'm not quite sure they're going to be happy campers about that one.
I'm just saying, if you're a British team, I can't say the same for the Tifosi, but if you're a British team, then you are going to be sitting easy.
And Digital Motorsports, of course, has presented this here for SwiftX Racing, so please give them a check out, and all the information is in the description. Once again, please give us a thumbs up. If you don't give us a thumbs up, Ben and I won't interview the drivers. How's that sound, Ben? We'll strike, right? I mean, just like the British transport system right now. We'll just strike.
Not out of the goodness of your heart. You're really not gonna.
No. Of course, we would love to hear from the drivers. I just want people to support SwiftX and all the fantastic drivers and this fantastic racing, guys. Where else are you going to see racing like this?
It's a very good point. But there we go. I need to take a second because I think those last 10 laps kind of took something out of me. Took a certain
mate. It kind of reminds me of another league I casted when a driver called 1 second, 1 by 1 second in the last dying stages. Italy just produces. It's amazing. You still have your voice, so you're okay there, Ben.
Yeah, my voice is somewhat still intact. Either way, do we have any of the drivers to talk to? It doesn't look like it. It looks like after a race like that, everyone is just jumping straight out and is heading straight to the cool down. And I'm not surprised with so many incidents on track. I think they're also coming together to maybe discuss and make sure that while it's fresh, taking some of their incidents to the stewards.
Yes, that's true. Now, I mean, we don't know about... Now, quarter cutting penalties is something. AJ, I do remember AJ picked up a 3-second penalty very early in this race. Now, you know that to get a big penalty without the warnings means probably a run off the track. And that seems to me somewhere around turn 1 in like case, isn't it? When you're just getting off the track there to avoid a collision.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are removed.
Yeah, we do see the cases. Stewards do take that into consideration. Say human steward review, and sometimes those penalties do get removed. In fact, AJ looking in to the paddock is in fact going through such a occurrence right now. It looks to be going through a turn 1 sequence, so that might have been just the case.
Let's see if we can get him in for an interview, of course, and that can be debated after the race while we have the audience here watching, and we obviously will give you updates as it progresses. So hopefully we get to hear from the drivers, is what we're here and entertained for. And of course, if you obviously always want to find out the results, and if you want to sign up to be a driver and drive alongside some of the best controllers and wheel drivers on the planet, SwiftX is it. Just hit it. Swift Motor Racing Series. Just hit all the buttons. The Discord's there. You can try to race against Ben and myself one day, but I guarantee you probably they'll beat us, Ben. Wouldn't they, if we were racing? But I don't think they'll beat Ben,
wheel
obviously,
driver,
in
but
Forza. On Forza, I don't think they'll beat you, my friend, but on Formula 1, they might.
I think I can comfortably say Forza is my field, but say F1 can never hold a candle to these guys, no matter the amount of practice.
I think we got some drivers to speak to.
Much. But yeah, speaking of said drivers and said wonders of the track, let's talk to our race winner. Of course, is the one, the only, Jasper ten Haken. How are we doing?
Yeah, finally, you know, the P1, but then I came into the cooldown room and I saw the penalty AJ got, and I think it's a questionable one. So for now it's P1, but I'm quite afraid it will be P2 again.
Well, say you still got P1 at time of race classification, so ultimately that is really what we're looking at here. Of course, the stewards can take a look at things. They can revoke penalties, or say they can opt to keep penalties instated, but they can also reinstate new ones, so you don't really know. Either way, how confident were you feeling in your drive today, mate?
Quite comfortable. It started with qualifying, which was a bit of a shame again. With 2 crashed cars on track, I couldn't really gain a lot of time, so I started P5. Then at the start, it was a bit of a chaos start. I think I got P3, and the pole sitter dropped down, so it was a bit of a mess in the first chicane. But I think overall the pace was there, and I think the strategy was great with my teammate as well. I think overall we can be happy. Yeah.
Yeah, Jasper, mate, what it has been all season, and this is exactly what Ben was talking about at the top of the hour, it was about your consistency. And that's the reason why you're leading the championship. You're always consistency, even though, as you mentioned there, your qualifying wasn't up to the par that you wanted to do. But consistency is the race, is where you get the points. And you're just there. You're always there on podiums. And this time around, with a win, obviously it's questionable whether it'll be a win or not, but either way, I guarantee you it's a podium and guarantee you more points in this championship. Is that all you need to do? Is that the secret to success?
Yeah, well, of course, if it's a P1 would be nice, but if the penalty gets removed, it will be P2. I think we still, the main rival is E2, and I think he finished outside of the podium, so we gain on them again. We gain on Aston Martin in the constructors as well, so even if it's a penalty gets removed, I think it'll still be a good race overall. But I think, yeah, what you said, the consistency, I think the whole season, I think the key is to just score as many points in the races you don't feel as comfortable in as well. And I think that's what I did. I think I finished on the podium except 1 or 2 races every race. And there have been tracks, of course, that I didn't like. But still, even though my pace wasn't always there, maybe for some reason, if that's like, sometimes it's also lucky, or to be honest, because it's you get lucky with penalties or crashes or safety cars. But I think overall the consistency helps you, get podiums, of course. Yeah, it does.
It's great. And the E2 thing, we're going to talk about in a minute, because there was a strategy that we were like, but I think he ended up finishing. But that's E2. We're talking about yourself. So yeah, any questions out there to your fans? Anybody listening as well, and any of the fans out there? Questions, of course, to Jasper Ten Haken that's leading the championship, more points. And
I don't know if there are any fans.
That trophy, mate, we're already starting to engrave your name in it. Because it's getting closer and closer and closer to getting that Drivers' Championship trophy.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit early still, but if the races are like today, the next week and the weeks after, I think we have we're in there with a good chance. Yeah.
So you're keeping your head down, you're getting those consistent points, and that's what's mattered, and that's what put you in the point you are. But yeah, so of course, to say, relishing the good performance today, whether it's P1 or P2, you still put in an absolute core Kariba drive. You kept the head down amidst all the chaos. You capitalized on it to great effect. I mean, even say running the mediums to the end in the sea of softs. I think that was, a good strategy call, because I, in fact, wanted to ask you, considering that you were one of basically the only medium runners, and we had 2 safety cars in those last 10 laps, what made you decide to hold firm rather than go in like so many others had done to a soft for set?
I think the difference between myself and some of the others, I was on new mediums. I just pitted a lap before. It was quite unlucky actually, because I pitted for the new mediums, and then 1 lap later, the safety car came out. And I found that the mediums are quite a decent race tire. And I found that in qualifying in Q1, I went out on the soft, and I had a spin in my out lap, and then I had to box again. But I did my hot lap, my final time in Q1 on those same set of softs. But I only did 1 push lap and 1 out lap, and it was already in like 14% tire wear. So I found out in Q1 that the tire wear was quite high, and when the first safety car came out, it was still like 10, 11 laps to go, and I was on brand new medium. So I was like, yeah, I think that if I hold on the first laps after the restart, I think at the end the softs will be gone for everyone, and I'll still have decent mediums left. So yeah, and the second safety car, yeah, there was not really a lot of laps remaining, and I knew there wouldn't be DRS anymore. So yeah, that's why I stayed out there. But I think overall it was the right decision again. Yeah.
And if the second safety car didn't come out, do you think you would have got P1 on track?
Yeah, I'm quite sure I would have. Yeah, I think I would have gotten, the DRS would have been enabled, and I think AJ's tires were a lot older than the other softs, and I think his tires at the end would be completely gone, and I would be on new mediums with DRS, and I think it would be an easy overtake. Yeah, but it's not always how it goes.
We will talk to AJ about that in a second. Actually, he's in the cool down room, well, in the commentating. Well, there we go. The you know what room we're in. It doesn't matter. But yes. So yes, but yeah, congratulations, mate. It's good. You can hang around, obviously, still, because we're going to talk to AJ. We still don't know the final verdict. That is, but either way, guaranteed champagne, guaranteed podium for you, guaranteed leading championship, and that's really what matters the most.
Exactly.
There we go. So yeah, so that's Jasper Ten Haken, and I think you'd be excited to talk to him, Dean, because I'm not sure if it was you who dragged them in. I did. I
put AJ in here so he could listen to the conversation, of course, because it's all referring to all the racing that's going on. But AJ, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Here he is. Okay, so well, you surprised Ben when I predicted you in the Q2 to be the top of the timesheets, and you had mentioned to me that both you and actually Jasper Ten Haken were blisteringly quick in Q3, setting purples in first sector 1 and sector 2, but made a mistake in sector 3, and you guys ended up battling a lot on track. But mate, what a strategy! How did that pan out, and how were your tires towards the end?
Honestly, my tires were complete dead. I think they're like at 50 or 60%. I saw Lenny on the softs early on in the race. He held them on for like a good 10 laps. I knew that I could probably manage my tires better than Lenny could, so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna do a hard soft strategy. I think it would have paid off a lot, but there was a safety car, and then I think I pulled almost a second gap to Jasper before the other safety car came out, and then I just decided I just had to push the last 2 laps, and I was able to still get a podium. So.
And I was chatting to Jet, obviously, another fellow Canadian friend, and I was because I know Jet's strategies, and you know you've been racing with Jet a lot. In fact, you've been racing about everybody on the planet, AJ. One of the quickest, as somebody quoted in the chat before, one of the quickest controller drivers on the planet. And he was saying if you pull that gap, of course, under the safety car restart, you can get that up the road there on those soft tires, of course, and then everything else went all over the place towards the end, but amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way, the 3-second penalties were weird questioning because you got that very, very early. I saw you got slapped immediately with it without any warnings. What happened?
So I think it was turn 1, lap 2. I think I missed my braking point. And if I didn't so basically I cut the corner a little bit. If I didn't, I was gonna destroy E2. So I just cut the corner. I let him go and gave him a gap, and then I just followed along. There was no track limits, but I don't know how the stewards are gonna see that. I don't know if they're gonna see it as like a quarter cutting to gain time or advantage, whatever the case is. But regardless, it's a podium, and I think that's my best finish for the season so far. So I'm hoping for the win, but I mean, a podium is a podium regardless.
And on top of it, my friend, you got the fastest lap.
Yeah. So big points for Williams, and hoping I can climb the leaderboard a lot.
Well, weren't we, Ben, at the top of the show? You were saying, okay, you know, we were talking about you, AJ, like you're being very, very quick. You think everything's been thrown at you. You know, the computer's just been going DNFing at you, and the game's been DNFing at you. But today, everything's panned out perfectly, and you put in a good race and a good battle. Yeah. You had the pace, no doubt. Obviously, we realized that yourself and Jasper could have easily got that pole position apart from those little slimy mistakes. But it's the show of the new Canadian force, mate. So maybe the winter storm is coming to SwiftX.
Hopefully.
You do great stuff, mate. Yeah, so see what comes out of that whole for all with, say, the turn 1, lap 2. We'll see what comes out of that, but regardless, everything worked in your favor today. No issues. Yeah. Great stuff on track. Great call off track. I will admit, I will put my sins to the table. I was very doubtful about your switch to soft in the later end of the race.
We both were like, what the is going on? But it is what it is, right?
So I was doubtful, but in the end, safety cars came out, I think. What would have been your plan had the safety cars not been a factor?
I think I was right behind the 2 Aston Martins. I was ahead of Lenny. They were on hards and I was on softs. I think I was just going to stick with them as best as I could. And just DRS, and then at a certain point just push. I wasn't sure about the 3-second penalty, so yeah, my whole plan was just to catch up, gain some ERS, and then probably push the next couple of laps. If I knew I had like a way better pace, I would have pushed early. If I knew I had like the same pace as roughly, I think I would have pushed just a little bit harder than they are, because their tires are gonna last longer than mine. But yeah.
Well,
Job done. As
done.
I say, licked a stamp and sent it. Courtesy of Canada Royal Mail. Job done. Exactly.
Thanks, guys.
So thank you very much, AJ. We'll let you go to the stewards there and chat about all that sort of stuff. And either way, as you said, podium is a podium, and you got the fastest lap. So points are coming, and once again, the storm is brewing from Canada. So be careful for the rest of the field. And Jasper, over to you again, mate. I understand you're still in here. What can anybody do to stop you winning this championship now?
That's a good question. I don't think I'm the right person to answer that question, but I think P3, you have to ask the guy the closest in the championship, and I think that's Edu. So if you want I think you should ask him, really.
As we should, if he's around. We didn't get to speak to Luke Franklin, of course. Luke Franklin had finished in P2 on the podium, and the Aston Martins, they looked really on fire, didn't they, Ben? We looked like Aston Martins were going to wrap this one up here in Monza, but they didn't.
Yeah, Franklin doesn't tend to stick around, but either way, he knows that he's got a good job done, and is down, and heads down, thumbs up, knuckles in to the next round. But shall we talk a little bit about that? Of course, it goes without saying, but AJ and Jasper, thank you both for talking to us. We wish you nothing but the best of luck in future races, and we look to see more good things from the both of you. But let's talk calendar. Let's talk next races. Let's talk about where we are going next, and where we are going next is none other than Spain. So the Circuit Catalunya, and some people give it a bit of flack, so being a little bit boring and being, say, more of a testing track than a racing track, but it still has that perfect mix. I say it's got slow sections, fast sections, medium sections. It's got plenty of variety, and drivers whereas, I say, the real life counterparts are, let's say, tuned to within thousands of laps of that circuit. Here, drivers get no such luxury of early testing, so it's still going to be plenty of exciting racing.
And Spain sometimes can be the S in brackets, right? Spain with the pain, Spain without the pain.
Well, it depends how you play your cards. Hopefully, we see everyone play their cards right, and
then of course we're back to Italy again for more pineapple on your pizza in Imola.
Of course. Well, let's say I'm not sure they're going to let us back in by that point if we keep up with this.
I'm banned. Yeah, this is the last time I've ever entered this country. I'll be just across the border, my friend. I'll be just sitting there in France or somewhere along the line there and casting and shouting in my voice as possibly as loud as I can. But yeah, Ben.
So it's if round 12 is just me or Dean sounds like he's coming through a small can, just understand, do not give him any sympathy. That is a prison of his own making for putting pineapple on pizza. Either way, Spain is next week. I am certainly excited. How are you feeling about it, Dean?
I don't want to comment anymore at the moment. I'll be in trouble. I'm a tin can. No, I'm excited, of course. And what's going to see? Because AJ continue this rampage? Can the Aston Martins get a 1-2?
Yeah, that is, of course, the Holy Grail.
Can anybody to dethrone Jasper in this championship?
To think the Aston Martins were so close to a 1-2, and then various things happened that ultimately put that to a full deconstruction. Hopefully, one of those drivers, or say one of those teams, can achieve the Holy Grail. But for now, I got to get myself prepared for next week's race. So we are going to sign off for now. Of course, we will see you next week in Spain. Keep it SwiftX. Don't go anywhere. Be sure to send us some love in the stream. Keep up with Swift Racing series and stick around hitting that bell for everything regarding some of the best F1 22 racing there is.
Absolutely.
There we go. Signing off for now. It's been a pleasure. I've been Ben Sapsford. He's been Dean Biggles. He's probably not going to be met back in Italy.
Follow Ben. He's a celebrity, guys, out there. Please. He's an absolutely fantastic caster and commentator. Follow him. And broadcasting this whole event. So, a pleasure to work with you, Ben.
As always with you, mate. But we're going to be seeing you in 7 days' time.